Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, episode 103. It's like we started 100 episodes on episode 3. We're now 100. It's crazy. I don't get it, man. Like, I'm just saying, like, when we started with 3 episodes, it felt like so early on, and now we're at 103, which means it's really far out. That's all I'm trying to say. How's it going, Evan?
Yeah, it's going good. Having a great day. How about you?
Great day. Why Nick's not here, and I'm not here every other week, it seems. It's what the tour does to us. Nick is at the PDGA World Championships competing, and tonight they had a players meeting. In true Nick fashion, he's like, I didn't know it was a thing. I can't come on the show, guys. So good for you, Nick.
Yeah.
Good.
Come on, Nick. Act like you've been there.
Yeah.
How many worlds has he been to? I honestly don't know. I should have pulled up that stat ahead of time, but
Yeah.
this isn't his first, right?
No, it's not his first. He did the fort last year, and I think he did
Oh,
one.
duh, he did the.
I think he did
that.
1 or 2 before that. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah, I was trying to think if he did Peoria or not, but
to his benefit, he was trying to line up Eagle as a guest tonight. And he's like, Eagle, come on the show. And Eagle and him start looking at the schedule of events. And Eagle's like, no, like, I can't. And he's like, what? So anyways, here we are. Evan and I are holding it down. We got intern Ben at the controls doing what he does. I'm excited to be back as well. So I didn't play disc golf on my last trip out to Wisconsin. Honestly, I was just too swamped and slammed with work. But man, traveling has been a thing for me. Like, I think some of you are going to blow me away with your stats, but here's one for you, Evan. 31 out of the last 55 days I've been away from my house. So it's more than half. It's pretty incredible. And you just moved. I
just moved, and I think like 14 on my 14 days here. I've been here longer than that, haven't I? I don't know.
Really?
Wow. It's August 29th. I moved in early August. Like the 8th maybe. So I guess that's like 21 days here, and I think I've spent every night here. I don't think I haven't. I don't know.
But time flies, dude. You're at a new place. You're settling in. Does it still feel really new to you?
Yeah, it still feels new, getting used to the routine and all that, but it's settling in. Still have boxes to unpack. I mean,
no ski maps.
I'm not on full screen. I have no ski maps, and I have boxes to unpack. And good thing we're on this split screen action right here.
Yeah,
because I got a box behind me still.
We'll just go full screen every now and then.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do go full screen, there it is. Check out. Oh, wrong side. Check out.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Here.
Whoa.
Oh, I can't get my thumb.
Stat
there we
Mando
go.
hats.
That is
galore.
a row of Stat
that
Mando
is
hats.
Cool. How many Stat Mando hats is that? And how many of them are small and how many medium Stat Mando?
They're hats.
He's like, we do stats on discs, not hats.
No, I got 30 hats sitting right here. We got a little surprise for some of our researchers coming out to Maple Hill in less than a month. Like, it's like 2 or 3 weeks now. It's insane. Yep. And then a few of our other researchers are getting a nice little surprise that I don't think I even told them that it's coming, but if they're watching this, they'll know. But big shout out to Diskcom. They got all these hats done, and we got some shirts too. So
okay. I want to say thank you to Cosmic DG for presenting episode 103. You can find your disc golf needs at cosmicdg.com, as you're seeing it on the screen there if you're watching live. If you're not watching live, go ahead and check out our information description for this episode, and you can find that there, and all of our wonderful sponsors. Well, Evan, we have made it to the week. This is literally the recording. This is the evening before the 2022 PDGA World Championships. This event, and I was driving around today a little bit in between work and errands and stuff, and I thought to myself, why is it that we have decided that the World Championships by title, and I get that's how events are, you have to title them, but how come we've decided that this is like the crowning moment, the way that we describe and announce our players that this event is the way? They don't have to qualify. I'm treading lightly here. They don't have to qualify to play in this event, really. I'm saying that again a little bit lightly. Maybe the future, it's on its way to that, but they don't have to qualify. It's pretty wide open. If you want to play the World Championships, you're probably getting in. And I don't think it's a bad thing per se, but it's there's something to be said about invitationals and the process of getting there. And we're going to actually go and dive into this a little bit later. You might give us some stats on like this first year ever for playoffs. Like the Pro Tour is doing something that I'm kind of talking about here is like, will the Pro Tour finale ever become just as big? And people are laughing at me now. But my point is, I'd love to see the World Championship get to a place where like all over the world, players are qualifying and they're getting an invite for their country, right? And they're represented. And I think the PDGA probably would like that as well at some point too. But here's the deal. We have the World Championships. And Evan, let's kick it off like this. Let's talk about what we've already seen happen. And they have what is called side or field events. Side events, field events is what we'll call them. And they also have tournaments that are run as C/X tier, which means they're doubles. Okay, so it's not your standard C tier. It has to be an X tier because you have doubles event. Now, I'm posing this to you and to Ben. What do you think when a player like Calvin and Macy, they take down the doubles event? In your mind, do you feel like congratulations, you are now doubles world champions? Like how do you see that when that announcement happens? Because I've seen from Innova and DD, two different types of posts because Calvin's Innova, and it's just interesting. I'm just curious how you see it. Do you see them as world champions, doubles world champions, or do you see them as doubles victors at the side event for the world championships? Like what do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I'm with the second one. It is cool. Like I think it's fun that they put on all these events and especially the doubles. It's cool seeing the different partnerships we see and kind of the long-time partners you see year over year. But I don't feel the prestige with it. I don't think it's a notable achievement that's going to go on their kind of player record. When you talk about Calvin Heimberg, you're not ever going to mention this. When you talk about Macy Villa-Diaz, who she hasn't even won an Elite Series event yet, you're still not going to talk about this. You're going to talk about her notable A-tier wins and the other things she's done really well on tour. And that's what it comes down to me is if this isn't talked about in that setting, like it's cool. The coverage is out, Disc Golf Guy and Gatekeeper, I think, put out some coverage of this. I mean, there's
good
the long
content.
drive. It's good content to watch. It's fun. You see players. I mean, almost like your typical practice rounds and skins matches. It's that kind of feel to me.
Yeah, and I think it's funny how you said it, and I hadn't really thought of it that way. But next time we have Calvin on the show, we can be like, in 2022, side event doubles champion Calvin Heimberg, and it would just be fitting.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would smirk a little bit. What do you think, Ben? You heard that? You're newer to the sport. Not like super new, but when you get to this place where you see an announcement like that, are you thinking these side events are world titles?
I'm gonna have to go with the side events are just side events. I would consider a world title if indeed that it was like a big deal and like Paul Macbeth, like a ton of players were there and wanted to win it. I wouldn't really consider it doubles world title because it's not like the best of the best. It's not the world. It's just like whoever was at Worlds that week and wanted to, play in that doubles event, which wasn't that many. I don't think.
So Garrett Gerthy throws 652. I'm just butchering it. It's probably right in that range. 652 feet. And you see, let me do it right now. You think I probably would have already set this all up, but I'm gonna do a little social search here for Innova discs, and I'm going to see how they announced the fact that Garrett Gerthy threw the furthest at Worlds. It says star team Garrett Gerthy, who just earned his third world distance title. Now it's such a weird thing because I think they're capitalizing on the fact, like, let's get marketing out of this, but are they saying it's a world's distance title or is it a world record title? And I know there's a difference there, but you see people in the comments going along the lines of, how is this ranged differently than David Wiggins' world record? Because was this course play? Is that why it's different? And like people are, no, that's because in the desert it's crazy. This is more controlled here. And the people are arguing over, is this the world title or not now? Like, is this the official? And my point is, the way we describe it, I wish, maybe wish is a strong word. We separated these events from worlds. Like we wanted to do at the All-Star event. Like, do that. Like, let's have a weekend of like where this stuff happens.
Yeah,
Doubles,
all the top pros,
field
like,
events, everything. Just like the All-Star events kind of be coming. And I can tell you this, and it's a non-issue, but at the Master Worlds, at the players meeting, they open it up to questions, and someone in the crowd was like, why did you take away world titles from us from like side events and field events? And they're like, their ultimate response, I think it was Jeff Jacquard that said this. He said, we believe that a world title needs more than, let's say, 3 rounds or 2 rounds. You need ultimately they're saying like you need 5 rounds for a world title. So if they did the doubles thing and they officially were trying to make it a world title, I could see that. I think there should be a doubles world title. That's pretty cool, right? But I don't think it should be a 2-round thing. And I think if we're going to do distance comps, like we should make it a bigger deal and just
bigger deal.
Yeah.
That's my
So,
has to be a
anyways,
bigger deal.
not trying to make a big deal out of this. I just wanted to talk about it because I read those things and I hear 2 different things. Doubles victors at the 2022 World Championships and, world champions of the doubles event at the World Championship. So,
But hey, also if I'm Innova, I am absolutely gonna milk this for what I
Yes.
can.
Absolutely.
And their way of wording it, I think, is kind of totally valid. Yeah, there's some ambiguity to it, but they should be doing that. They should be hyping up their player who can throw a mile.
absolutely. And so should Double G Craft Jerky. In fact, let me do this right now. It's not Wiggins. It's not Garrett Girthy, but we're talking Double G Jerky right now. And they have a new jerky that I have yet to try because it's that hot. And I don't mean spicy, although it is supposedly spicy too, but it's not, it's so hot. It's flying off the shelves. They did a first phase rollout and it flew out the doors. I'm looking forward to trying this incredible, Eagle. It's called Eagle McMahon's Crushed Red Chili. Now here's the thing. If you haven't eaten yet, your mouth's about to start watering. Has a similar flavor to pepperoni. It's a great source of protein, low fat. The jerky is vegan, which means it's meatless, right? Fake meat, but it has a real meaty flavor. I don't know about you. I like pepperoni, and I want pepperoni with cheese and crackers, and I could see this being something I carry around the course, which is different than this brisket-styled beef jerky, right? I can see having both. Perfect for pizzas, wraps, snacks on the go, as I said, incredible. It was developed by Garrett Girthy and Eagle McMahon together. Eagle loves this style of jerky. He's been eating this style for years. However, he thought there had to be a way to make it tastier. Eagle, being the vegan that he is, I'm like just labeling him. He prepares for what he eats and he plans ahead and he thinks about what he wants to eat and where he's traveling to where he is. He thinks about where he can get the food. He wanted something better than what he was getting. He went with Double G Craft Jerky. They made something that he's very happy with. The first batch sold out in 2 weeks. So go over to Double G Craft Jerky. Everybody go and use the code Nick and Matt. Let Double G Craft Jerky know that you are interested in this. If you like vegan, if you like fake meat, that sounds funny, but in all seriousness, this sounds incredible. I think I know when I try it, I will like it. I'm yet to try it because it sold out so quickly. Thank you to Double G Craft Jerky. Evan, I don't think you're a vegan eater, but when you hear this, does it sound intriguing to you? Do you sound like you're interested in trying it out?
I hope I'm not a vegan eater because that
you
sounds
don't
like
eat
you
vegans.
No, I'm not a vegan, but like I'm not scared of like plant-based things. I mean, I think they're fascinating.
You're
and
scared.
really cool. And no, not at all. Like having, I'm not going to name other brands of
Fake meat,
impersonating meat. I don't know how to call it. Yeah,
it's literally the read they gave me. It literally says fake meat.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's fake. Like they make hot dogs that are fake. They make all this stuff that's fake.
Oh yeah.
And it's sustainable at some level. And I'm just telling you, pepperoni to me and crackers and cheese just sounds awesome. To have this snack on the course sounds like a great, fantastic alternative. And the name, Crushed Red Chili, Eagle McMahon's Crushed Red Chili.
Well, my favorite part of it, I have seen the packaging. They got the nice, beautiful flat irons of Boulder, Colorado on the package. One of the best sites in the world. So I like it, at least for that, and I'm sure the flavor is amazing too.
All right. Go check it out. Let us know what you think. Thank you, Double G Craft Jerky. All right. So Worlds has a history. We're going to kind of go back and forth with conversations and discussions, and Evan's going to drop stats, and we've got a lot of things lined up tonight. A lot. Should Worlds go back to more rounds, Evan? So Worlds, when you came into the sport and when Ben came into the sport, do you remember, like, has it always been 4 or 5, or what do you remember? Like, for yourself personally?
The first World Championship I actually remember watching was 2017, which was actually 4 rounds, funny enough.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, so it wasn't the 7 to 10 round marathons that they used to be. But it's tough. I know the players, like 5 might even be too much for them. I think 5's a good number. I usually say that other tournaments should be more. I wish more Elite Series were 4 rounds and all majors were 5. But in the current state we have them, I think 5 rounds is great. It really sets it apart. It's nice to see, 2 rounds of one course, 3 rounds of the other, and then that's the finale, is the 3-round course. And I think you really get a true best winner. I know we'll talk about it later. Maybe it's not the best player in the world, but it was the best player that weekend. And you definitely get that with 5 rounds.
Exactly. And I'm going back, and I don't know the number of rounds here. You might be able to find this. Actually, let me see. It's linked in Wikipedia. The first World Championships.
Wikipedia is great.
Yeah, it is. It's still used. It's still used. It looks like we have 6 rounds plus a semi plus a finals. So Nate DOSS won the 2000. He won 3 events, World Championships, but 2007 is the first one that I remember. So that is 15 years ago, and that puts me in that range. I always say, like, I'm like 16 years into the sport. This is the first one that I remember, and I'm like, dude, Nate DOSS, like, who's this? Like, he already had one, but he wasn't, like, disc golf was not like it was today, where you're like, you know who all the players are, and you just follow them, and social media, like, wasn't like that, and I'm not calling myself old, but it was 6 rounds then with a semi, so that's 7, and then you get a finals. It was 8 rounds of play. And I remember him being crowned the victor there and thinking, I can't believe this kid just pulled that off. Like, in his first event that he won World Championships was 2005, and that was the ending of the Ken Climo era. Like, not the era, but like he took the worlds from Ken after so many years there. And so, long story short, I enjoyed a lot more rounds. Who doesn't want more disc golf? But I just feel like you get to a point where the tops separate themselves, and then it just turns into a show for the top 4 to keep going, and it's kind of pointless.
And in a lot of those, there were 2 rounds in one day. It was 10 rounds over like 4 or 5 days. So just a lot of toll on the body when they're not playing 20 elite events a year. They might be playing more events than that and touring around and doing their local ones, but it feels like the tour is such a grind with longer and longer courses. I think the players are already exhausted going into this week. They got the weekend of rest. They got a few extra days to hit this 5-day event. But I think 5 days, I think they'll be kind of exhausted by the end, and will want another break before we hit the playoffs.
Yeah, they don't need more play nowadays. That's a great point. The tour changes it up quite a bit. Let me correct myself, and I'll let you go. I said that Nate ended the Ken Climo era, if you will, but it was actually either side of it. So he won 2005, Ken won 2006, and then Nate won 2007. So he was able to be like, I got you on both sides. And that was really kind of the end of it. So thanks to the chat for that. I think that was, I want to give the shout out to where that was due, correcting what I had said. I'll find it. But anyways, thank you.
I just wanted to go back to the last event we had in Des Moines Challenge, where almost half the MPO field had to play 2 rounds on the second day because the first round was canceled. And just look at how not great those scores were. I'm not saying that if they played 2 rounds in one day, we would see the same thing. But maybe that can offer a glimpse as if we had to pick these players who probably would not want to do it anyways and might even boycott it. But if they were to play 2 rounds a day over 3 or 4 days to get up to that 8 or so rounds, I think we'd be seeing worse disc golf than we do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump towards you, Evan, giving us a random stat. I know Statmando's loaded. I'm sure you're ready to go for this long week, which we can talk about later possibly. But what's one random stat that maybe we can react to and talk about?
There's a lot to go with.
There's a lot.
I want to quickly say just stats that I think you guys would know, but just want to make sure people do know. But Paul Macbeth is going on 9 straight years of Worlds being first or second, and Paige Pierce is going on 8 straight years of Worlds being either first or second. It would be insane to see it either carry on or for those streaks to end. So those will be super exciting. I mean, Paul has had maybe his worst year of his, let's say, his career, or at least since like his first year or so.
He needs
tour.
bulletin board material. I'll send him that text with a clip of that right now.
Hey, hopefully, and it's not just, Paul's skill, but also his skill compared to the field, maybe. But I mean, Paige as well, we saw her want that 6th title, and I mean, of course, same with Paul, wants that 6th title so bad. Unfortunately, both of them got it ripped away on the last hole last year, that drive to get it, and maybe they are so focused on that they're all or nothing, and they'll either come in 1st or 10th. And if we see them come in 10th, then these streaks end.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
The one of the kind of cool stat I got, kind of fun little tidbit. I got so many more, like you were saying. But
absolutely,
the 4 most recent one-time MPO winners, that was their last Elite Series or major win when they won Worlds. So James Conrad has not won any PDGA event, but has not won an Elite Series or major since.
That stat, we need to pause for a second on that stat. You and me before the show. I mean, that's a stat right there that I feel like deserves. It'll come up as supporting for some of our debates later as supporting information. But James did not win any event last year. No event last year except for Worlds. He won Worlds.
First time since the 80s.
And then he hasn't won again. Any event. Can you specify? You're talking like even in his home state, nowhere. He's no wins, any tier, anywhere.
The only technical win he has was being on the All-Stars match coming in first, which I don't think we're going to count. We're going to count solo third play, or at least solo events.
He might have won like for best hair somewhere too, right? But we're not going to do those. But I just find that stat incredible, and that's going to come up later. I'll tease the question out there, like, does a World Championship actually crown the best player in the world? Or is this simply a title of I won that event? Okay, so that's a good stat, Evan. I cut you off. What else do we got?
And then I was going to say Greg Barsby won in 2018. That was the last time he won an Elite Series or major. Of course, he just won a Silver Series this year, but that's not an Elite Series or major. And then going back even further, Eric McCabe, designer of these courses out in Emporia. In 2010, he did not win an Elite Series or major since then. And then go back one more year to Avery Jenkins. That was the last time he won an Elite Series or major.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Greg Barsby, another one to bring up there. And also Paige Shue, right? Like, you look at her and when we talk here, we understand life things change, and that'll be part of our conversation. But just generally, it's an interesting thing to look at. And then you look at someone like Paul or Ricky, right? And you think, wow, they really, really capitalized on it. And they've kind of shown that they stand out from the rest. So we'll talk about what would this mean for Eagle and everyone else. I think there's a lot of conversations to be had from this. Give us one more stat here before we go into our next segment.
All right. Ricky Wysocki won DDO this year, had the huge move to Dynamic Disc. We're in Emporia, home of Dynamic Disc. He has not won a major in the last 5 years.
Ooh.
His last major win was 2017 Worlds in the summer of 2017, although over 5 years ago. But he won DDO this year. He's in, let's say, his sponsor's hometown. He's playing well besides the very last week. Of course, we talked about Des Moines, him just being off. But besides that, one Ledgestone has been looking great otherwise. Like this, it feels like things are lining up for Ricky. But it has been 5 years since he's won a major, and I think that's a big weight on his shoulders, and I'm curious to how that'll affect him this week.
Okay, so in the same supporting idea as what I just kind of teased out there, like, does Worlds crown the best player? The fact that Ricky hasn't won, you said 5 years or 4 or 5? 5.
5 years.
Yeah, the fact that he hasn't won a major, I get it, but we're just going to say Worlds for now. Does that mean he's not the best player in the world, right? And so you say, oh, James has one last year, Ricky has none in the last 5, James is a better disc golfer. Like, I guess this is where the conversation's going. Why do we do this? Why do we say the world title? Is it just because we arbitrarily chose, and we had to, that this is our Super Bowl? Like, this is our event. You win this and it matters. Just like, hey, maybe a head-to-head against the Patriots and the Colts back in the day was our Super Bowl. but like you didn't make it to the Super Bowl. You didn't get the title. You didn't get the rings, right? So like, I think that's kind of what happened here. And there's definitely a history. I mean, you go way back to Sam Ferens, who's at Innova now as a, I don't know if he's a part owner or not, but he's really high up in Innova. And he won at 17 years old back in 1984. So, I mean, like the World Championships is a thing. And Dave Greenwell, if you know the name, he has played or participated or attended. I'm not sure the actual stat. Do you know? Every single World Championship. He's been at every single World Championship. So I don't think he's playing MPO, but he's been at every single World Championship.
Yeah. Well, to finish up the Ricky talk,
yeah,
he's been the #1 player in the official Statmando rankings. I think it was 50 of the last 52 weeks. It's an insane number. He has dominated. Paul took it after his Waco win and held it for like a week or two and then lost it. Back to Ricky. He's #1 in the DG rankings. That's Steve Dodge's rankings. He's #1 in the DGT points. He won Statmando's Player of the Year last year, and he's leading for the Statmando Player of the Year this year. By all accounts, Ricky Wysocki is the best player in the world currently.
Yep, but he doesn't get announced.
That brings up the great point, though. Yeah, it's 5 years. He's only a 2-time winner, and only that sounds crazy.
Good
but
for him.
How good Ricky is. You wonder if he's got to be like, no, I should be like a 4 or 5-time winner.
Back to back too. He did it back to back. So had it spread out by 3 or 4 years, that might even be more credibility, right? But there's no arguing that he's, like you said, maybe the best player in the world. So it's just really interesting because we could announce him that way, the best player in the world, and they're like, huh? You're like, I didn't say world title. I didn't say 2-time. I said the best player in the world. Like, it's interesting. You can earn that status, but without the title. So like, it's just something to be thought of. And people are bringing up events like, hey, it's just like the Masters or the US Open or the British Open. And it's true, they're picking an event. But what I love about those events is that they're permanent. They're not changing. They don't rotate. You have a venue and it's become something special. This is just a title. You could have it at a World Championship venue where you don't like it. The players don't like, all the players don't like it. I don't love that fact, right? And so we'll bring that up again later too, which is like the venue. Do we want to see it back here again in the near future? So all that being said, we've got more to talk about for sure. But before we get to these other segments, there is a new website that I just found out about, and it is absolutely awesome. I'm telling you right now, if you visit and you do this right, if you're at your computer, go ahead and punch in tridiscs.com. Try, not like TRY, like I want to try them. Try discs, or what am I? Tridisc.com? Is that what I'm doing? Am I saying it wrong here? Discs.com.
Discs, yup.
Yeah.
It's discs,
I don't know why.
You're
When I
trying
did
more
it,
than
it was
one
saying
disc.
GoDaddy was trying to sell it to me. I punched in the wrong address. I'm like, GoDaddy. I just found this website. It's awesome. GoDaddy's not selling it.
You got to buy up all the alternatives. So,
yeah, here we go. Good. So if you do what I just did right now, you're going to come across, and let me see here, actually. Let's go ahead and put it up real quick. Go full screen on me, Ben. Or on the, let's see. It's behind me, but let's go to the display too. Here we go. Perfect. So I don't think I have anything private on my page here. If you can look, it's 8:05 p.m. But if you go to tridisc.com, you're going to be able to search out and compare similar discs across different manufacturers. But my favorite tool about tridisc.com that I've discovered is the fact that I can't, why isn't it showing my cursor? I can search 170 retailers at one time. Put me back up on screen because I need to show how impressed I am by this. So 170 different retailers at one time, I can check to see where my disc. So I want a limited edition ESP Comet. Okay. That's my favorite disc of all time at this point. I can go on this website and I hit retailer search. And if I type in, let me do it. Limited. I'm doing this live, everybody. ESP Comet. Now, here we go. I'm going to hit search. And it searches 170 retailers to see who is in stock. Like, so not even just like, oh, let's just do a Google search and say who's carried this disc before, right? And so, I hit too many buttons at one time. But what it does is it shows me, Matt, here's all the retailers that have that disc in stock. Who do you want to buy it from? And you can click buy and it brings you to the website and you buy it. This, Ben, you brought this up earlier. I told you about this website because I was stoked on it. What did you say this would be good for, this tool?
It would be good for limited edition discs that have dropped and maybe say it dropped and you missed the drop, or it dropped, you got the disc, you really like them, but they're really popular. There might be 1 or 2 retailers that are still out that have the disc, because that is possible. There's a ton of retailers that don't get as much traction. So then you look it up, say, hey, I want another run of this, and you should be able to find it. While I was reading chat, I was kind of like playing with it a little bit, and there's a lot of cool features that were sick. Like,
Well, so you're saying like a limited edition drop,
Yeah.
in the sense of like you're 4 hours too late and it's sold out in your favorite store,
exactly.
and you punch it in and it's going to search the 170 retailers at once. And let me try this again here. Let me just see. Okay, in search of disc, it's initiating the search. It's telling me it's searching. It pulls up so many different retailers that are in
grams, I'm pretty
stock.
sure, which is cool.
Oh, dude, there's so much here. So what we're gonna do right now?
That's game changer.
I'm just talking about one of the things. You can also do disc finder search. So like, hey, I like the Comet and I throw typically about 300 feet and I am, an intermediate player. And it goes, hey, if you like that, here's a list of other discs that are right in your wheelhouse, and you can click buy. And it's incredible. The fact that I don't have to Google and keep going out into the search engine and trying to find the one I like, it does it for you. This is genius work. We have a link inside of our YouTube description and the podcast description. If you use that, it directly ties to the Nick and Matt show so that the guy who built this knows that we're sending you there. Okay? Oh my goodness, someone in the chat just put out another awesome thing. It also looks up promo codes.
That's what I meant to say when I first saw it. I was like, wow, it has a list of promo codes on whatever you want, and it tells you if they free ship or whatever.
Yes. It goes, hey, there's a promo
nice.
code. You should use this promo code. It searches for that for you too. So what I want to do right now is the genius behind this. I'd like to bring him onto the show. His name is Tyler, and he is the man behind Tridiskcom. So let's go ahead and bring him into the show now. Tyler, how are you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing, Matt? There must have been a mistake. That's not me.
Oh, who is this?
I'm the guy who interviewed you the other day.
Oh, come on. This has to be the funniest thing I've done of all time. Guys, this is real and in the moment, and this is totally cool, and we're going to roll with it.
Oh, am I upside
So
down?
what I want to do in this moment, because this is incredible that this happened.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so let me explain what happened to the world, because this is a real moment and we have to capitalize on it. I was interviewed on a different podcast last week, okay, and his name is Tyler. And Tyler is doing a show. Give it to us. Disco Fever, correct?
Yes, sir. Disco Fever.
Okay.
Yep.
So he interviewed me, and I somehow got my contacts mixed up. And Tyler, you were on the Nick and Matt show, and I thought, yes, I love how you're like, dude, there must be a mistake. I thought I had on the owner of Tridisc. So what we're going to do, this is still a spot for Tridiskcom. What I want to do is have you, do you have a computer right there with you or no?
I can get one really quick.
Okay,
Yeah.
do this because I want this to be live and in
This
the
is
moment.
awesome.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go.
incredible. And I'm going to go ahead and give them a shout out as well. This is incredible. So Tridiskcom, and I want Tyler to try this. So Tyler interviewed me and he's like, hey, Matt, like, what did it take to get in the Nick and Matt show? All these things. And he's doing a disc golf podcast, Disco Fever. So what I want to do, I invited on, this is so incredible. It's actually embarrassing, but you're doing a great job. I feel more embarrassed than you. I'm glad you're on the show. I feel like, what did I do? So all of that being said, Tyler is doing a show called Disco Fever. And we were talking also about how to set up advertisements, how to get people. We were saying all this stuff after the show, like, hey, these are things you can think about. One thing I will recommend is don't invite someone on who you thought was someone else. Imagine that. It's a surprise. So welcome to the show. So what we're going to do.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I was just going to
let's go.
say.
What an opportunity.
What an opportunity. So Disco Fever, check them out. But I want you to try out Tridiskcom. And I want you
I've
to.
got it pulled up right here.
Okay. And so when you click on, for instance, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see like in search of disc finder. Okay. And in search of disc finder, you're able to punch in any disc you want, and it's going to pull up the retailers for you. So what's your favorite disc, Tyler?
The Zone.
Okay. So if you just punch it, I mean, you can even be more specific. ESP zone, not the ESPN zone, ESP zone. and you hit initiate search, and it's going to pull up all the stores that have it in stock for you. His phone just fell over. It's okay. We all do that too. I just invite random people onto the show, and I call them someone else. So as it's loading, right, because it's literally searching every retailer for you for in-stock discs. And so as you're pulling this up, I'm just doing it right now. Again, everybody else can give this a try too. And it's going to say, hey, here's where they are, and would you like to buy them? So, hey, the chat's loving it. Yeah, everyone's loving it. They think I'm hilarious, and this is great. This is hilarious. I agree. So, all that being said, the discount codes is definitely special, and many more tools. Look up disc by flight number. If you like something, you can try it and compare it to something else. So, in return, as a favor to Tyler, we have Tridiskcom. That's not who Tyler is here. I want to get the name correct. I believe the name is Azim.
Yep.
Oh, you know it. How do you know it?
Chat.
Oh, the
chat's always right.
Yeah, Azim Faraz. So I'll hook up Azim later. We'll get him on next week. And we'll make sure that he's happy with that. So Tridiskcom. All right. Well, now the fact that you're on here, Tyler, I wanted to do one other thing with you. You asked me on your show. You said, Matt, who are your top 3? You can't pick the same top 3 as me. Go. Who are your top 3 for Worlds, Tyler? FPO, MPO.
Can it be same people in a different order?
Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. And okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
If you want to do the same people.
All right, cool. So my number 1 is Paul Macbeth. Like Evan said a little while ago, he's got top 2 with the last 9 Worlds. That's pretty ridiculous. And I am a Paul Macbeth fan, so I do have him coming first. But second place, I think, is going to be Gannon Burr. A little bit of a dark horse pick, but he's having a very solid season. And third, it's a toss-up between, Simon, Ricky, Eagle, all those guys. But I am going to give the nod to Eagle just because of how his performance was at the European Open.
I left Eagle out of my top picks, didn't I? I didn't say Eagle, if you remember. Yep. And later, I think it was like a shower moment. I'm like, what the? How did I leave Eagle out? But the reality is he's a, as we say on the Nick and Matt show, he's a wild horse. We just don't know. We know that he's great. We know he shows up at big competitions. But I think if I was to swap, I would swap him out with Simon, who I had as a pick. We're going to bring this up later, but I don't know. I still think Simon's the wild horse. And then for FPO, who do you got?
It's hard to take Paige Pierce out of first place, but I am going to go Kristen Tatar in first. And then I am going to go Paige in second as well. I think those are both going to be really close down the wire, maybe even hole 18. It's going to require a big putt. But in third place, I'm thinking Valerie Matahano.
Okay.
All right.
I left her out of my top 3, but I think I said she could be a wild horse. So I am afraid to pick Paige's first. Can she? Yeah, I just feel like, I think I said this on your show. It's like up and down. It's hard to know. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm glad we were, in all seriousness, I'm glad that we were able to promo your show. I wish it didn't happen the way it did, where I was talking about an ad and I'm like, and next up, Tyler. It's like, no, this is a mistake. This is how live works, everybody. And it can be incredibly interesting sometimes. But in all seriousness, I was on his show. Go check it out. Everyone who listens to this, if you want to hear some inside scoops to things that helped bring this show about, that maybe I haven't even said on the air here, go check it out. Disco Fever on all podcast platforms, right, Tyler?
Just Spotify. It'll be up on Apple soon, though.
Okay, Spotify. Go give Spotify all the love right now. All right, Tyler, thank you for coming on, and we will catch up another time. Appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you.
All right, man. Okay, everybody.
Well, hey, Matt,
whatever happened, Evan? Do you need more inside scoop?
That is hilarious. That's the best thing.
No, I didn't know you were on this podcast. It's very interesting. So I'm definitely going to have to check that out. So I'm glad this kind of, mess up occurred, because now I get to learn about this and get to add another podcast to my list.
Absolutely. The thing I'm not someone who gets embarrassed easily. The thing that embarrasses me is that I was welcoming him as who he is not. And I put him in that spot to say, hey, there's a mistake. But in all seriousness, what would you do? You're getting announced as, and next up, the owner of Innova Discs. You're like, what do I do?
So
do
did you think he was the owner? Is that what happened?
Yes. And let me just specify, and I'll make this short because we don't need to talk all night about this. And this is literally not even a humble brag. It's nothing. I have 80,000 contacts that I'm texting. I have 200 different text messages going on over the last 2 weeks, right? And somehow, names are freshly new populating in my chats, and I scrolled back and I said, oh yeah, here's a recent conversation I had, and I literally said like, hey, are you ready to come on the show?
And he's like, sure.
Yeah, he's like,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we'll
That's
line you up for
awesome.
the spot. It'll be like 5 minutes. And like the whole, I think I was talking to Azim, like in my head. That's what happened. So he's ready to come on. There he is. And I'm announcing him as the owner. So we will get Azim on next week, but I'm glad Tyler came on tonight. Live is an interesting beast. Okay.
Whatever, it was awesome.
It was awesome. I mean, things like this happen. The moment happens. I'm sad I had to make him be in that situation, but I'm sure.
I love how he didn't even ask questions. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll come on the show. Let's do it.
True. Well, I mean, wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
you have a
obviously,
podcast, if
yeah.
I have a podcast and like Foundation's like, hey, you want to come on? I'm like, definitely. So that's cool. I'm glad. I wouldn't change anything about it. I'm glad it happened. Thanks, Tyler, for being a good sport too. All right. So we have a little bit of time, about 15 minutes until Valarie Jenkins. And someone asked, why do we say Valarie Jenkins? That's like, if you have like a actress name, right, in the world of acting and you get married, you keep that name. That's how people know you. The same thing in most sports. If you're a very large, well-known disc golfer or professional athlete, you do that. So that's what she's chosen to keep it that way. And so that's how we recognize her. But then we also have Nate Dawson, about 15 minutes or so to get their inside scoop. All right. So let's go ahead and break this topic down just a little bit more. Does Worlds, so this is where we're actually solidifying it. Does Worlds actually crown the best players in the world? Okay. So we kind of teased around and we're like, yeah, good point. Is this that? I feel like I can immediately say maybe. Just like any event. Like, to me, I wanted to just say no, as in like there's nothing special about 5 rounds at any course that say this is the best player. Just like any tournament, it's the best player on that tournament. Absolutely, that's how you determine a winner. But best player in the world, I think the only way you can say that is if you have the venue that tests most of the disciplines of a disc golfer. Me personally, I look at DDO, I look at this venue, Emporia Country Club in Jones, and I say, I don't think it tests every discipline, meaning more tightly wooded. That's what I think. I think you need a little bit of both. So to me, I would say Worlds doesn't necessarily do that. I think if you have the right venue, and this is an interesting conversation because I feel like the Smuggler's Notch Worlds 2018 did a very good job. Fox Run and Brewster Ridge do an incredible job at balancing the courses, the venues, 2 back and forth. But then you look at it and you say, Greg Barsby, was he the best in the world at that time? And if so, was it just in that moment? Because it's an interesting conversation. He's been around a long time, but as you said, hasn't won a lot since. So what do you think? Does Worlds crown the best player in the world, Evan?
Well, I want to answer your question by kind of opening up a slightly different topic, but it's related, I promise. But if you were to say a way to say who's the best player, would you rather say who won Worlds or who was, let's say, the Disc Golf Pro Tour points winner? So at the end of the season, who had the most points?
Ooh.
Like that's another way to look at it too.
Interesting.
Like, would that person be the best player in the world? Because over a whole season, over a variety of courses, over a variety of different weather conditions too. Because what if it was wet or rainy all week in Emporia? Like, and it's gonna be like what 95 degrees and humid there, and maybe a touch of wind, not as windy as DDO was. So like you're saying is it's open, but it's also just one weather condition. Like maybe someone's really good at playing at the rain and they get no chance at doing that here. There's all different variables you could get into. Okay. But over a course of a season, I think that would be really the best way to get the best player. But to answer your question though, sorry, to rein it in. I do think it's good enough to crown someone as the best player that weekend, and it's a valid way to say you're the world champion for the rest of the year. You might not be the best player. James Conrad wasn't the best player last year. It was his only win, and even if he won other events, he wasn't the best player. There is definitely an argument at the top, but James Conrad wasn't included. Katrina Allen, definitely in the argument between her and Paige Pierce. So it's kind of a 2-horse race with Tatar kind of around, but still it wasn't 100% Katrina Allen's the best player either. But I still think it's a super valid way to say, hey, you're the world champion for the year. I don't think it takes anything away. It's a valuable achievement. I mean, just because DDO is going, or sorry, excuse me, just because Worlds is going to be at the courses we know as the DDO now in Emporia, I don't think takes away from a world champion at all. It just like any other tournament, just like Smugs was at Smuggler's Notch with Greg Barsby winning, he wasn't the best player and it tested everything. Just because it's only testing more of one dimensional, I don't think takes away from the world champion. But I'm kind of going all different places, answering multiple different questions here.
You're like, it could go here, it could go here, but it could go here. Yeah, like I guess it's just an interesting thing that our sport has done. I think it's just an interesting thing that our sport has done. Okay, so that being said, I think we could talk about it a little bit more, but you know what? I feel like, and maybe we're a little early here, but can you guys hear us right now out in the green room? Raise your hand. I'll let you know. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do, we're a little bit early, but if you're ready to go, we'll bring in, give us a thumbs up. Okay, cool. Let's do this. You're going to have to go into the either full screen or interview mode here. We should probably be able to fit them both in the interview.
Yep.
Okay,
Interview mode.
cool. Let's bring them in. Nate, DOSS, everybody, Valarie Jenkins. Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. How are you guys doing?
Doing real good.
Doing great.
Yeah.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Please
So
scoot in.
yeah, perfect. There you go. We got you both in the shot. You guys can get close. You guys know each other pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
So our conversation, I just thought, I mean, it's a little bit early, but I was like, our conversation that was happening, I'm like, there's 7 world titles sitting here in our green room. We need to include them in this. So first of all, congratulations on your success in the sport and what you are doing currently. Absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I was just saying before you came on, Nate, you are the first world champion that I remember being crowned. That was back, I think, 2007 for me. I was just in the sport for about a year or so, and that's the one I remember. And I'm like, who's this kid? There wasn't the same social media following and everything behind it. And it was just like, I remember like, that guy is good, man. So I really appreciate the fact that you're on the show. And same for you, Valarie. I followed you and your family, the first disc golf family, you know what I mean? And I've been able to meet Avery a few times. And one day, I probably was at Maple Hill and I said, hi, Valarie. But long story short, you both are awesome in the sport, and we wanted to bring you in tonight to get your opinion on what is happening on the floor right now, what is going to be happening, and to start it out, just tell us, the world champion title, what does it mean to you? And I'll start with you, Valarie. You have 4 of them, and you have the most recent title win. Like, what does a world title mean to you? What did it do for your career?
I mean, it's everything in a disc golf professional life. I mean, it's the biggest accomplishment you can have. It's, you can push away, whatever A tier, whatever C tier, B tier, elite series. Nobody's going to even care about those once you win a world title. And so that's just something that'll carry with you. And anybody outside the sport, that's what they can kind of recognize or, appreciate. A world title, you're not going to say, I was the Squirrel Open champion back in 2004.
Some people do say that, though. Let's just be fair.
It happened. I mean, Squirrel Open. It was a tough tournament. It was a good win.
That's a big win. That's a big win. A lot of squirrels.
That's the one that anybody outside the sport can recognize and appreciate.
Yeah, and so you came into this conversation. We were talking about, and maybe you heard it. Maybe you were just barely getting in, but we said, does the world championship, and this is not to literally argue with you guys about your title, but do you think that the world championship actually crowns the best player in the world, or is it they get the world title? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I can take that one. I mean, I guess the question would be, does the NBA championship crown the best basketball team that is right there right now? We know that's not the truth. Does the Masters championship crown the best golfer in golf or the person that played best that week? That's always a conversation that you can have about anything. Is it the best driver who wins the Daytona 500? Sometimes it necessarily doesn't, but that's what sports are all about. You put the best players on the best courses and you let them go at each other. And we all know it's not that much different from 2 weeks ago in Des Moines. It's still the same players playing disc golf, but the reality is it's what's on the line, the stakes that are on the line. A basketball game in a preseason is the same as the Game 7 in the NBA championship, but it's what it's for. And that's what makes it that testament, that challenge. When you get up, in this case, it's Saturday morning, to go out and try to win a world title, it's unlike anything you've ever done before in your life. You can't compare it to anything. You can't compare it to last week or the week before or the Squirrel Open. You can't compare it to anything. It is truly the biggest test that you as an athlete in the sport of disc golf will go through ever. It is the highest test, and everybody out there wants it. And if they're even close, James Conrad's a perfect example. He is going to grasp it. Now, of course, it was very insanely lucky, and what an incredible throw it was.
Yes,
I mean, literally the holy shot. But that is what the World Championship is all about. And I don't discount the conversation. Does it crown the best player or the best player that week or whatever? But that's
Right.
what it's all about, giving yourself the opportunity. Players that aren't ready to win, they don't.
There you
The
go.
ones that do win are the ones that have believe it and have put in the work. That's how it goes every single time.
Absolutely. And I guess that was my point earlier too. And I think, again, might have been right before you got on. I said, maybe. The answer is maybe. They could be the best. And the fact that they did it means that they could be. It's hard to know, as you said, but they did win the event. And as you said, and that's the voice of reason, as you mentioned. And I think Evan made a good point. Evan from Statmando's in here as well. And he said, Matt, like, let's look at like Pro Tour finale points, like the people who've earned the most points. Maybe you could go and say those are the best players in the world, right? Like you could say that more confidently, but the world title changes the disc golf career, as you said. And I think that's something I'd like to hone in on a little bit more. You said this is the biggest test that they are going to be looking at right now. It's the evening before, the eve before. You've been here before, Valarie and Nate. What were you thinking about the eve before? Were you just trying to relax? What was going on? What was going through your minds? Do you remember? You have to think back. Valarie's, yeah, I think you're ready.
Yeah. So the last time we were here in Emporia, 2016, it was a week of extreme heat warnings.
Yep.
And so we were in a really interesting mind frame of, I mean, there's so many events going on. There's so much to do in the evening. But Nate and I were on this very strict regimen. I mean, we were so focused on being prepared for that round that we would lay low all afternoon to save up energy. I mean, blinds shut, AC cranked. We had the Summer Olympics
That's
on.
right. It was the Olympics. Yeah,
And
2016.
we just rested our bodies until we had to perform. I mean, they were literally saying, do not leave the house. It is too hot. It's dangerous. And our tee times were straight in the middle of the day. I mean, the sun at its highest, it at its hottest. And so we prepared ourselves to get ready for those rounds. And then after the rounds happened, we didn't go out and do all the fun partying. We came back to the hotel, had a good dinner. We were able to cook in the room and just relax. And
Yeah.
so I think that was a really huge thing because we were focused on what we needed to do, and we didn't. It was, again, the time before social media really came into effect. And there's too many, we don't have interviews after the round like they do these days, but we just got to focus on what we were doing and how we were playing, and made sure our bodies were up to it. And so, yeah, that was 2016 at least.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we're talking to a 4-time world champion. I think really I think it depends on if you've been there or you haven't, and that's one of the reasons why people who win the worlds for their first time, the second, third, and fourth become, I think, a little bit easier. Although every one is a true test, because your mind's not worried about, well, this is going to be the year and I'm going to do it. So you can really just think about where you need to put yourself in your mind and your body and everything. You've already done the preparation. The preparation is a given. You're going to go out and practice, and you're going to throw the extra shots, and you're going to go the extra mile. But it's, can you just keep that mindset of, I need to continue to give myself a chance. I need to be patient. I can't win it tomorrow, but I certainly can lose it. Let's get the first round in the books. Let's make some good shots. Let's make some good putts. And then the momentum, then it starts to really go. And a lot of times, if you Statmando, you look at players that get themselves in there early. Yeah, some fall off, but typically our winner comes out of people who have led within the first 2 rounds. So you really want to put yourself in that position. So I think the mindset is, let's not go out and lose it, but let's not go out and win it. Let's make some good shots. It's a 4-round, 5-round tournament, and you can't rush time. It's still going to go second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So you can't get there too fast.
Interesting. And I'm going to segue off of what you just said about the rounds, the amount of rounds. We were having a discussion around, hey, did we like it before? And Evan's like, hey, the first one I remember was only 4 rounds. And there was that period of time where it went to 4. The first one I remember was with you. And technically there was 6. But I think if you count like semi and finals, there might have been 8. You might have had to play 8.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5.
Yes, 7.5. Coming up, the 05 Worlds was 9.5 rounds. And if you look at Ken Climo's, I believe all 12 of his world titles, maybe minus the one in Augusta, was 9.5 rounds. But to be honest, it was different courses. We're looking at Jones.
True.
Right behind us, right here, is the Country Club,
right.
And it's a beautiful evening here in Emporia.
Looks
nice
beautiful.
And quiet.
Yeah.
Calm before the storm,
right.
I guess is what we can say. But it was different. We just walked Jones with Avery Jenkins, 09 world champ. He was practicing. He's playing in the tournament for, I believe, his 24th straight world championship,
awesome.
Which is pretty freaking cool. And that course is the combination of the distance of that one course would have equaled about maybe a course we would have played in the mid-90s into the early 2000s. So the test is still the same. Even though we don't look at the rounds, I think that the round numbers aren't the same. And certainly players back in those days would have argued that, right? And again, that's a sports thing. Generations are always going to argue that theirs was the best. So either way, it's a big challenge.
Yeah. So, I mean, to both of you, I guess that's kind of where my question was going to go is like, does more rounds lend itself to different players? Like, is that partly why we see Paul McBeth rising at a world championship where he plays better on average over more rounds than the other players? I mean, if we go back, and I don't know fully the history here, but Ken Climo, and we reduced the round play to much fewer, where there are times where he would have lost if we had said it was 4 rounds. I don't know those stats. Maybe Statmando can dig in for us there, but like, are you happy with 5 rounds? I guess is what I'm getting to. Are you happy with 5? Do you feel like that? What do you think, Valarie, for the FPO?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, to have you are testing your endurance. You're testing you're getting, at least on this tournament, you're going to be able to play both courses a couple times, and that can really round things out. I think back when we were playing those 9.5 rounds, it was so much about endurance. I mean, you were just exhausted. I remember by the end of the week, no matter if you were a touring player and you're playing every weekend, like, it was still a lot of golf.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a really good layout. I think it gives you enough rounds to, I mean, how many times have you seen the round 1 winner, some random name that you've never heard of popping out a great round? But the more rounds that you get in, you're going to see the cream rise to the top. You're going to see our best players, find their way up and get redemption on these courses and on these holes. So yeah, I think it's a good amount of golf.
Yeah, I key in on that last combination of words, which is the cream rises to the top. Well, that's really always the case. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, we could sit and argue about, well, Climo, was it a 4-round tournament? Would he have won as many? Maybe not as many, but Climo still would have been a factor. He had the champion mindset.
Yeah, he would have done it faster.
He would have just done it quicker.
When you have time, you just got to be right there.
You pace it out.
He's
playing the game that he's been asked to play.
Yeah.
And he's doing it as best as any.
Great point.
If you said, hey, Paul McBeth, this World Championship's 2 rounds, Paul would come right out off the first tee and be just slamming it in there. It would be McBeast mode from the get-go. He knows he has to pace himself because he has to finish hole 18 like he started hole 1 5 days earlier on the first round. So, 18 on the championship hole there on the final round. So I think you could sit. I think we are in about the perfect kind of zone for the number of rounds. A really good tour event is 3 rounds. Even the playoffs for the Disc Golf Pro Tour are 4 rounds. And then the World Championship is 5 rounds. And I think we've hit that proper number to where the fans at home get all the golf that they could ever want, and the players are still at their best, the ones that have prepared properly come the final round.
I agree. This is why we brought you on, but I feel like what you're saying is right. I love the insight. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, let me just drop
Go
in a
ahead,
few
Evan.
stats
Stab
on
Man
these
was
subjects
sitting
we're
in the
talking about.
background today. Well, what do you got, Evan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well,
Come on,
real
Evan.
quick, if from all of Climo's worlds, if there were only 4 rounds, and of course there's all the variables of if he would have played harder knowing it was only 4 rounds, he would only have 6 world titles. 5 of them he got anyways. One of them he was actually finished 5th. I think that was 89, but he was leading after 4.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, it drops from 12 to 6.
It's not fair. This is to Nate's point, though. It's the game that he was given, which was this is how you pace it out. But I love the stat. It is interesting.
Just for context, that's all
Exactly.
it is. And the leader after round 1 who goes on to win Worlds in FPO since 2010, it has happened only 3 times. In MPO, only twice, and one of them was a tie after round 1.
Well, let me ask you this question, Evan. How many of the world champions started first round outside the top 10?
Ooh.
Yeah, all right, back to the background, Evan.
Yeah. And you could even maybe extend that out to the top 15, but either way, top 10 or 15,
All right.
I think that number would be quite low.
That would be interesting. So look that up, Evan. If you get it, just cut me off. But
yep.
Let me
it's
ask this.
loading right
Evan
now.
told me not to ask you this question, but I'm not afraid to. Do you guys have any favorite? Do you guys have any favorite players? And do you keep it to yourself, or do you secretly inside root for them?
I'll say this: the job of being in the media, we take serious, and
Right.
you have to be very neutral, I guess is the right word. And I'll say this for me. I think Val agrees with it. We're all about disc golf.
Right.
That's why we're here. That's why we're sitting in this table right now. That's why we've done all this work. We want to see disc golf succeed. We have friends. It's a surprise, I know, but we have a couple of friends that we certainly root for. And there's people that we really would love to see win their first world title, or second or third or fourth or sixth maybe. But at the end of the day, I personally just root for disc golf. I root for good play, and I'm going to sit here and call it like I see it. But at the end of the day, I commentate I try to be as positive as I can. Give the honest outlook for who we're watching at that moment, regardless of how I feel, if they're my best friend or my worst enemy, which that doesn't really exist. But I'm just saying, I try to be very neutral.
Yeah. And like you're saying, we want to see the best golf. And I think that every story, regardless of, how many world titles they've won or if it's their first attempt, every story, it's something we can tell. It's always an incredible story to follow, and you get compassionate because we've been there and we know how hard it is to fight for these titles, to stand over a putt. And even if you won 100 tournaments before that, just how nerve-wracking that is. And it's only something that you have to be in those situations to know how it feels. And I feel like Nate and I, we go through these emotions of these players. And so I think seeing anybody win a world title, it's another notch on the belt, or it's a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
So
and Valarie,
exciting.
I believe you've said it. You've been brought to tears during commentary, and and Nate, how about you? Have you ever been brought to tears during commentary?
I was brought to tears just, I think, 10 days ago.
Okay.
I mean, the Robert Burridge Simon Lizotte playoff, I mean, it literally brought me to tears. Terry can attest to it. What we saw that day, in my opinion, was probably the best day of disc golf we've had all season long. I mean, what Eagle McMahon did at the European Open was incredible, and I was actually brought to tears that day too. It's all because of their reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way they react, because we know those moments. We've been there. We've had good things and we've had bad things, and that will always bring me to tears, because it brings me back to those times when I was crying in the car because I didn't win, or the times when I was celebrating and hugging my friends and family. when I did. So there's always that emotion that comes out.
Yeah, I was just thinking because you were talking about you've been there and you know it, and you're saying, you know, and I still think you have favorite players. So that's okay. You don't have to tell us that. That's okay. but I think that's interesting. Yeah, we do. It's interesting, and I think you guys do a great job at balancing that as professionals that you are, and I really enjoy it. Evan, you figured that out yet?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure if Nate was tossing me a softball question or not, but when you won 2005 Worlds, you were 23rd place after round one.
Whoa.
Before going on to win. You're only 5
did you
strokes
know that?
back. Maybe I'm digging up some memories now.
Evan's a stat man.
Yeah.
I want to know these stats. Look,
Yeah,
and we
so-
work with Evan. Evan does a
Right,
great
exactly.
job, and everybody on Statmando helps us in the booth. I don't necessarily know these things. I just, in my mind, I always remember things like, yeah, that guy was in it all the week. He maybe wasn't leading until the end.
Yeah.
You know, the 2016, her 4th world title, I don't think she was even leading until maybe 5 holes left in the tournament.
Right.
So, but she was in it.
Yeah.
You know, so that was 2005. What else, Evan? Anything else?
Yeah, Eric McCabe was in 22nd, although he was only 4 strokes back. There was a few other cases where an MPO player was 5 strokes back. The only one more than that, you have to go all the way back to 1984,
Whoa.
when Sam Ferentz was only in 18th place, but was 8 strokes back before he goes on to win.
Wow.
Okay.
But on the FPO side, just a couple years back in 2019, Paige Pierce was sitting in 9th place after round 1, 8 strokes back. She fights all the way back to, of course, win. And the only time an FPO player ever was outside the top 10 after round 1, that is, was Paige Pierce in 11th at 2015 Worlds. She was 6 strokes behind the leader and goes on to win.
So I guess we could,
Cool.
and that is brilliant. Thank
Yeah,
you, Evan. I would just say,
Thank you, and we will credit you after
So,
round one.
100%.
I'll package this all up for you
I
guys
guarantee
tomorrow.
we're going to
Yeah.
say that. I'm going to go, look, nobody has won more than 8 strokes back.
Yeah.
And we got to go to
Men and
84
women.
for that with Sammy Ferentz.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, they're in it. They're in it.
Yeah.
You know, disc golf is a game that's very difficult to come back from behind. We don't see very many winners off the chase card. It's almost never happened from the 3rd card. So you got to be in it to win it come as you get closer to the final rounds, of course.
That being said, this is another segue. It seems to me as if every year it's more of a up for grabs. Who's going to win it? Every year there becomes more names, and more names. And so you're saying like, hey, we rarely see a chase card victory accurate. You say almost never 3rd. I don't know what we'd have to go back to find that. But is this year the most up for grabs year we've ever had as far as competition in the field, both FPO and MPO? I mean, it just seems like it would happen every year this way. But I mean, when you look at it, aren't there names down to 25th place that you say, oh, they could win it? They could. Robert Burridge, I mean, at Des Moines. I mean,
Right.
the thing is, like, do you see
Add
that?
him to the list.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
this
add
the
him to
largest
the
up for
list.
grabs year you probably can imagine? I mean, it's hard to say without stats, I
I
guess.
mean, I would say so for the FBO division, just for the fact that we're seeing more players win big tournaments. We're seeing
Right.
that list of players grow. And so I talk about it a lot, but like you have to know what it feels like to win, to continue to win. You know, it's the hardest to get your big title. You know, Missy Gannon fighting so hard. And then once she got Des Moines last year, I mean, then it became easier.
Mhm.
She knew, you know, what exactly it takes and, you know, how to step up to that occasion. And yeah, that's what I feel like FPO division. There are a lot of potential winners just
Absolutely.
because they know what it takes.
Yeah, no question about it. I would say I fully expect it to be a good battle on both the men's and the women's side. And I would have to agree. I mean, we've gone through a lot of years, and we were playing most of those years, but every Worlds, it always felt like, boy, there's a lot of guys that can win this. Like, this
Okay.
guy's been playing good, and that guy's been playing good. But it eventually always comes down to a name that you usually expect. I would say we're just a few hours away from things getting kicked off, and I would have to say, for the record, that this is probably the most wide open World Championship that we've ever played in, for sure,
Awesome.
or that we've ever been a part of.
Like wide open of competition ready to
Well,
win,
and of
or
course
wide
that's
open
that
in
joke.
the course. I actually didn't know.
I hit several trees just throwing a couple shots with Avery
Yeah.
today.
Oh,
Nothing in the water.
Nothing in the water.
The fan
And
in
he
me.
hit a black ace.
Oh, okay. The fan.
Yeah, I black aced hole 12
11.
or 11 at Jones Supreme. I nailed the FPO basket. I just dead center, man. It was awesome. It was amazing.
Awesome. I was just gonna say
It was me everywhere.
this doesn't happen all the time, but the fan in me is like, I would love to get it around with both you and Nate, Valarie and Nate. And I'm like, okay, we gotta make this happen sometime. And there's another player.
Worlds next year, man. Come on up. Come to Vermont.
Right.
We should be in Vermont.
Oh, that's
next
right.
year.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'd love to make that happen. Sometimes we get these connections. I would love to make that happen. So I think you have experience to say this, but again, I'm interested in your perspective of like how the disc golf has changed. Meaning, do you feel like you were a few years too early for your world titles to where you could have capitalized in such a massive way? 3 world titles. If you did that, let's just say 2015 on, you might be the next multi-millionaire contract, right? And I mean, do you feel that way at all? And then I have a follow-up to that, but I'm just curious.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. When I started playing disc golf, I was, 5.5 years old, 6 years old. Just, a few years in, I grew up in Santa Cruz, California. We had the Masters Cup. Ken
Right.
Climo, Scott Stokely, the best players in the world. They came through and played, and I only had dreams. It wasn't about the money. It was about the competition, the taking home titles, the bringing home trophies. That's what it was about for me. And when I turned pro in 1999, right after I won the Junior World Championships, actually just up the road in Kansas City, I said to myself, I just want to leave the game of disc golf better than I found it. And if that was my only goal, then I did it exactly the way that I set out to do it. It was better when we left than when we started. And by doing what we're doing now, we're helping that. We're helping that continue on. We have that opportunity to do it. We're going to do it. And I would not change it for the world, even if you offer me $1 zillion billion, because I know that sounds ridiculous. Obviously, we'd all want Elon money. But at the end of the day, it's about the memories, and it's about I cannot say this enough. It's not about the destination. It's about the road. And that's what we all will always remember. And I wouldn't trade it for all the money in the world.
Why does it feel like I'm watching live disc golf right now and listening to Nate commentate? It's a wonderful thing. It's like
I'm tearing up.
Oh, this is Ben Kenny. This is our intern producer. He's beautiful. Okay. So Valarie, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you could contradict him. You're your own person. What do you think? I mean, do you feel like you?
No, I would.
You won fairly recently. When was your last win? 2016.
For Worlds, yeah, for World Championship.
So I mean, that's in this.
He was asking about Worlds. Did I win them too early?
Worlds,
specifically.
Yes. I mean, maybe, but
I mean, I'd like to win this one. Don't get me wrong. But...
Okay.
But like,
maybe you could.
You're not the first person. You're probably not the last person to ask us this question.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, and just a couple weeks back of seeing all the players out in Europe, and to remember those times where it was just a very small group of us, even having the opportunity to go and play in Europe and go over to Sweden and Finland and Norway, and just the experiences we got because we were only just a few players. I mean, it was just me, you, my brother Avery, Carrie Berlager,
Dave
Feldberg,
Ken
and Climo.
Yep.
Like, that was our group. And these were the only Americans coming over. And at that time, we were the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got this like hometown treatment and world champion treatment all at the same time. And so now things are a little more spread out. I mean, it's crazy. The crowds they see, all the things that they have to put up with being superstars over there. And we kind of helped pave that way, or we got that first opportunity.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, the memories that we created and the brewery that we have.
The business we have now. It's amazing.
It's not our out of pocket. I mean, the brewery Bevel is a culmination of all of the
people.
Yeah, all the people supporting tables, chairs, making donations to help with a GoFundMe way back in the day.
Yep.
So we are reaping the benefits of
Great.
what we were able to do early in the sport.
It is
So
disc golf funded, right? It's
cool.
disc golf funded, and you're
Yeah.
enjoying what you're doing. I've heard plenty of interviews about that, and I think it's fantastic. I wasn't going to ask so much like, hey, do you wish you were back in disc golf, as much as I'm like, dude, you could have had the millions. but
Yeah.
But that being said, this is an interesting time in that players are literally negotiating $1 million contracts, and you see players like Ricky, you see players like Kona, you see players like you can name Kristen Tatar, Paul Macbeth. Chris Dickerson. You're starting to hear these contracts come out, but then, and I'm not going to have you comment specifically on a player here. I know you try to be pretty down the middle here, but like James Conrad wins, and I guarantee he's benefited and he's reaping the benefits of a world title. He didn't win before that in that season at all. He didn't win any events, not even locals, not even small events since then in that event. My question is, it's kind of twofold. What does it take to capitalize on a world victory? Because I feel like, again, like a Paige Shue, for instance, she wins. Greg Barsby wins. Greg Barsby, long-time player. I'm sure you know him well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic guy. That was one of my most fun guys to hang out with when you come around on tour. Like, just a great guy. But he wins, and you're like, everybody that knew his history was so happy for him. Excellent. You deserved it. You earned it. But you look at the way some players are capitalizing on their big wins, and you're looking at how others are, and you're going, man, what is the difference? So I think my question to you with that premise, what does a player have to do once they win the World Championship this week? Let's say it's a new player, brand new. Is it just luck? They're like, hey, you're brandable, you're marketable? Or is it like, what do they do? Do they negotiate right away? Like, where would you be with that?
Yeah, well,
It's a big question.
no, it is. And obviously, you know, we could go on about all this all day. Here's the angle I'll take.
Okay.
Becoming the world champion is a gift and a curse.
Okay.
It is a burden unlike any other in our sport. And when you become the world champion, you now carry the torch for a year. And James Conrad, while he has made financially whatever he's made, we don't know
Right.
that number.
Absolutely.
It's not public. He has carried the torch as good as any world champion I've ever seen. Not only because he was the world champion, but because of the way he won. Taking the 6th title away from Paul, stealing it away with that holy shot, but also going to that playoff and executing in the way that he did. Now, he had a year's worth of time to represent disc golf. You are now the world champion everywhere you go. And how you handle that, I think, tells the story. And James Conrad has done that tremendously well. Greg Barsby has done that tremendously well. Greg, when Greg and I first met, you know, we're the same age, and we played a lot together. Greg got to see me win the world championship and see how I handled it. And then when he won in 2018, he handled it as good as any other champion. When you start to go look about taking advantage, I think the number one thing you have to remember is that you carry a torch. You carry a torch that is saying, disc golf, here we go. Let's do this. I'm the world champion. I'm going to lead by example. And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay.
If somebody won the world championship and turned around the next day and just didn't care and wasn't a part of it, then so be it. The money is not made at the Worlds necessarily. It's made in the depth of your career. And all those players you talked about that have taken away millions or hundreds of thousands have earned it for the most part with the overall, you know, extension of their career.
Great point.
And you know, sometimes there is investment in potential, and that is totally valid. That is totally valid. And I think if you're a company right now in disc golf, you have to invest in the young talent in our game because they are the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that might cost you a little more than others, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like, just to throw out one name here, because this was just kind of the premise in my head, I feel like Eagle McMahon, if he wins this year, and this is great, this is to your supporting of what you were saying, his career has had a pretty good depth to this point, that if he wins, he is primed. Like, he is primed
100%.
to take advantage of that world title in a way where he can lead with the torch, as you're saying, which I loved that take. I loved how you brought it as a burden and an honor and a privilege. But I think he's primed, and I'd say, man, someone like him or Simon or there's players like that where you would just see it go, and then you think to yourself, and this is just me on my podcast talk show looking at the interesting things like Greg. I love Greg, but I was like, where you don't see that continued explosion. It was almost as if it was an interesting time for him and Paige Shue. And again, I just list off names that are coming to my head, but I think someone like Eagle, it could be fantastic explosion. And I just found that as an interesting talking point. I appreciate your perspective on that.
Well, I am interested in Val's perspective. I mean, how do you feel about that as far as trying to take advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're asking about is the taking advantage in the marketing and what you can make off of that. And I feel like that really comes down to whoever's supporting you and the sponsors that supporting your efforts and your titles and making sure that they can help lift you up because they're selling the products with your name on it. And so, you know, look at the players that maybe didn't have that full experience, but Eagle, like you mentioned, he's already had the signature discs and the titles and won the big events. And so it's all built up, you know, a couple more huge wins or a world championship title. He has all that behind him and great support system too.
I'm glad you brought that up because I had it down as a question to ask you. How did you feel when Fierce dropped and your voice was heard in that way that it was on Fierce? And I'm not going to fully give it away to everybody, but I thought that was impactful for a lot of reasons, but I want you to share yours when that feature played. How did you feel?
Well, that was the second part of an interview. I actually gave an entire full day interview before that.
The day before.
The day before. And Paige goes, "Did you ask her about this?" And Wilson goes, "No, I don't even know what you're talking about."
Right.
And so I came back for a full interview to cover my sponsorship and my world titles and why I didn't get a signature disc and equality in the sport. But knowing that this is a documentary about Paige, I'm going, this is a stretch. Like, we're following her life. How is that going to fit in?
But she wanted it. She wanted it, I think.
Yeah. She asked for it. And so I gave, after the interview, I was like, Nate, I said it all.
Yeah.
I said the true story of what the heck went on after all these years. And then my switch to Discraft and how supportive they were of me and the women's field and all that. And so watching the documentary and just hearing the words as it transitioned to that moment of...
We looked at each other.
Nate and I go,
here it comes.
I think it's in here. Here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. And then to hear Des Redding be interviewed at the same time and to hear her input and the story that she went through. I mean, somebody has to fight for that next generation. And I am so happy to see that everybody is prospering at prosperous.
Yeah.
Prosperous?
It's working. It's working. Yeah.
Right.
You know me with the words, Val.
See, obviously I don't know.
Is it prosper? I think it's prosper. Yeah. I don't know. We're both stumbling on it.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Anyway,
live long and prosper.
So yeah. But you know, like now the generations are, you know, they're getting the contracts.
Yeah.
These manufacturers are selling discs with women's names on it, and I hate that I had to go through it, but I wanted it to stop. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous that I had to win 4 world titles to make that happen, and so it's awesome to see, and I'm glad she put it in there because it does tell the story of how successful she is and the support that she did get from Discraft at the end of it.
100%.
Yeah, and so I'm asking these questions, and it's just kept coming to my forefront. I'm like, we're asking about how Worlds affects you, how Worlds changes you, how Worlds you can, you know, benefit off of it, and then I'm thinking, but Val just said that there was a lot of things that she wished happened after Worlds and wished happened, but the way I'm hearing you say it, correct me if I'm wrong, is you feel like you didn't want that role, but you're happy that you were able to do that for the future of disc golf. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, exactly. And I had to, when I left Innova, I had to tell the story of why I left and the reason I left. It wasn't to go to another disc sponsor. It was because of the way I was treated at the time and the way that they made me feel as a female athlete and the things that they said to me. And so I felt like it was important to make that known, and then hopefully it didn't happen to another player on that team. So
I do not mean to put anybody on the spot, but has Innova reached out to you after this documentary released, or at any point following that interview? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And now it's years past. And
Understand.
I've already told my whole story.
Yeah.
But this was like, the full having it out there. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that people know and people can support the certain companies, and just the fact that this is the history of our sport. Everything has to grow. And if something's wrong, you should speak up. And that's the only way things are going to get better. And so I'm glad it is getting better.
Absolutely. And I feel like I remember last year, probably following your interview, I saw some social media stuff about, there's a bomb that's going to drop on Innova or something. And I was like, this sounds juicy. What is it? And then I totally forgot about it, but I recalled it in Fierce, the documentary. And I thought it was well done. And I'm glad you shared your voice as well. Absolutely. Thank you for answering that. Do you have... We went well over what we initially talked about. Do you have 10 more minutes to play a game with us by Statmando?
I think we did have an employee come in at some point.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Stat or Fiction is a game that was the inception of it happened on the show because Statmando brought a stat that was incorrect. Yes, they do that sometimes. And we were mind blown. And we said, there's no way that's real. So we need a game called Stat or Fiction. So Evan will bring us a stat. Or a statement, we should say. We have to decide if it's stat or fiction. All right, go ahead and hit it, Ben.
I like it.
Stat or Fiction, presented by Statmando.
All right, and we're going to be going up as well against intern Ben at the same time. So we will let you guys play as a team, it looks like, unless one of you wants to take the lead. But we'll let you play as a team. You guys can kind of decide and convince each other. It's going to be unfair for us because 7 world championships in disc golf history versus us. But that's okay. Here we go. Evan, take it away. Give us the first statement.
All right. Paul Macbeth and Paige Pierce have won worlds in the same exact year 3 different times. So... to explain the game a little bit further, that's the first official statement. If you think that is true, that they have won the same worlds in the same year 3 different times, that is a stat.
Right.
If you think that is incorrect, whether it's less or more, you would say fiction. So, we're not starting with you guys.
That's your statement right there?
But that is the statement. Yeah, I should have explained the rules going ahead.
That's
but
okay.
I said it first and then wanted to explain it.
Okay.
So I'll repeat it again.
Ben's
Paul
going
Macbeth,
first.
Okay.
All right.
Paul Macbeth and Paige Pierce have won worlds in the same year 3 different times.
All right. I'm going first. I'm going to say stat because Nate was shaking his head yes. So stat.
He's playing you, Ben. He's playing you. I'm taking second answer here. And I feel like for me, I can answer 2 easily, and I'm just not sure in the spot coming up for sure with the third. But I'm going to say stat because I know they've won a lot around the same times. Yeah, I'm going stat.
It could be more, though, so.
That's a trick. That is a trick.
It could be 4. That's his whole thing.
Oh, okay. So it could be 4 or 2.
Dang it. Yeah.
Or 5 or 1.
Or it could be 5.
Oh, no. Did I mess up?
Or they won 6 together. We don't know.
Yeah. We know they won their... yeah. You said stat.
Oh,
okay. Stat. Okay. So I know they won the 5th together. We know that for a fact. Paige's first one was in 2011. Paul then won in 12, and Paul went on a 4-year run. So did Paige Pierce win 2 in that 4-year run? So we already know they won their 5th together.
Well, it was 13.
I'm gonna go fiction.
Whoa! He threw us for a curveball.
He juked us.
All right, the chat is coming in with some of their guesses here. A lot of back and forth, stats and fictions. So, all right, let's.
Because we know Cat won 1 in there. We know that
14.
Hokum won 1 in there.
Yeah, 12.
Yep.
13.
Yeah.
All right, you sticking with fiction?
Yep, fiction.
All right, Evan,
What
give
we
it
got?
to us.
All right. This is a stat.
Dang.
We got lucky.
2013, 2015, and 2019. You were, of course, right about 2019. But yeah, in 2012, or sorry, Paige Pierce first won in 2011. That was with you, Nate. You knew that. Hokum won with Macbeth in 2012. They both win in 2013. Paul wins in 2014 with Katrina Allen. and then they both win together in 2015. That was the last time Paul wins until 2019, but Paige goes on to win in 2017 with Ricky.
Yeah.
So 2013, 15, and 2019.
Okay.
I had all the other ones right, but I just,
You did, and
those
this
other
is the,
two I should have assumed they were Paige. Hey, come on.
I feel so guilty for getting it right because I'm like, hey, they've won a lot, and I think it's more than 2. That was my answer. So,
in those years, all we knew is that we didn't win. So,
True. So this is funny. I feel slightly bad that we got lucky.
Just like
you guessed
the
yourself
question,
out of it.
Just like the question, if the person who wins Worlds is the best player in the world, that might be what happened with that question.
right.
That's okay.
But,
all right, we have a few more lined up.
Yeah, I just want to say a quick, easy way that I remember is Paige Pierce won all odd years up until 2021.
That's right.
So in the 2010s,
That's right,
she won every odd year.
Even 17, yeah.
That's why last
Even
year,
17.
and I don't remember if Nate, you were talking about this last year commentating Worlds, but that's why last year I think that was brought up a few times.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But-
Statmano gave it to us.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Damn it.
Pandemic threw everyone for a whirl. We lost
That's
a
right.
world.
We lost a year somewhere. in there.
Streak got weird.
All right, here we go. Statement
But-
2.
All right. The best event ratings, so round ratings averaged through an entire event, ever at the World Championships since they existed, round ratings that are, in each division were both from 2019 Worlds. So the best event rating ever in the World Championships for each division, both of the tops for MPO and FPO were from 2019 Worlds.
And I know you just said it over and over. We're talking all-time event ratings, best round
All
event
time
rating
that ratings have existed.
for a round, for one round.
No, for average.
The
through
average for the
event.
tournament.
Okay.
Yes.
Dude,
This was
Nate
the
Sexton
2019
averaged
Worlds
pretty good.
in Peoria, right?
Oh, wait, which Worlds are you talking about?
That was
All-
2019.
Mhm.
The stat or fiction was that 2019 Worlds
Okay.
had both the records for MPO and FPO for highest event ratings at Worlds. That might be a
At
clear way to
Worlds.
say it.
So
Can you?
only Worlds.
Nate
At-
said Peoria. Can you confirm or deny that?
Why do I got to help you out with this?
No.
Okay,
All right,
fine. Yeah, Peoria was 2019 Worlds.
Okay.
The Ledgestone courses, as you will.
I think it's a good guess. Whatever
Wow.
you guess.
And so you just mentioned Ledgestone. I know that ratings can come in hot when a player. I mean, this is true anywhere. Oh man, this is just another guess because I cannot remember
All I do is
specifically that
guess,
World
so.
Championship. Who won at that one? 2019. You just told me. I think that was Paul.
Well, it was that was the 5-year.
Yep.
was when
I
they
don't
both
think
went
Paul
back.
set the highest event average though, which would be an interesting thing not to win with that. But I'm just rolling the dice. Fiction. But why were you so specific with that question? Okay, Nate, you're up.
Odd question, Kearns.
It's a shot in the dark. He's trying to
I
read.
mean-
He's digging deep, and she's trying to help him with her telepathy.
That was a good year. They were pretty low. It's tough. It's tough. Does Ledgestone give up good ratings?
That's what I thought. But I just can't remember
Yeah.
what
If
that event
everybody's
was.
going low, then it's not good ratings.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they'd have to win big.
Yeah.
I'm
Sean.
gonna go stat.
All right.
It's the best guess going stat when those two win. I'm gonna go stat.
All right. And
He's just staring blankly into the camera.
just because mathematically, such a random year, there's so many other years that Worlds happen, I'm going to go fiction.
Oh, interesting take. Okay, Evan, what do you got?
All right. This is a stat.
Oh, they just tied it up.
It was
Great guess.
weirdly worded. My apologies with that. But I do think it is pretty impressive that
I
the
understood
best,
it perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
there
got
we
it
go.
right.
The best event ratings at all time in each division were 2019 Worlds. Paige Pierce had a 998.0. When I pulled my list, I actually only pulled in winners. Of course, they were the top because they were the winner. The second best winner was actually Valarie Jenkins at 2009 Worlds at 991.86. On the MPO side, 1073.8 for Macbeth. That's the best ever.
We
And
kicked Caden kicked
I
out.
know for sure that Ricky in second
Oh,
place
good.
was higher because he was also in the 1070s. But the next highest winner was Macbeth in 2015 at 1063.67.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're getting kicked out of Emporia Country Club.
No, we're good.
So
We're
much.
good.
We have,
Thank you.
I was gonna say we have one more question left.
No, we
All
got
right,
time.
but
We got time.
I wanted to
now. We're
say,
good.
Somebody
Nate-
call
Nate,
the
you-
cops on you guys? No. Okay, sorry. Never
No,
mind. Well,
no.
Okay, let's go on. Let's go on.
All right. We'll move on.
I had to check.
All right.
Too soon.
Okay, all right. It's all right. I just thought it up in the moment and rolled with it. All right, Evan, what do you got for question 3?
Nailed it.
All right, Matt. This one's directed at you.
Me?
Calvin Heimberg has never finished inside the top 10 at the PDGA Pro World Championships.
Oh my goodness, my favorite player of all time. You'd think I would know this. There's a running joke on the show, guys, that I dislike Calvin Heimberg, but I just speak the truth. He's the best player that with the fewest wins. That's my opinion. He's amazing.
Now he has 2
He's
wins this year.
amazing. Okay. Yeah, and he got a win or 2 this year. Okay, so you guys start this one.
So Calvin Heimberg has never finished inside the top 10 at the PDGA Pro World Championships.
Wow. How do I not know this?
Has never?
Has never. 0 times in his career.
I just got to say this about Calvin. You look at the era that Calvin Heimberg's playing.
True.
I think it's pretty impressive what Calvin has been able to do amongst some of the best that we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Up to this time. You know, and I talked about it in the Worlds last year in the final round, saying, yeah, this wasn't good for Calvin Heimberg, but sometimes you have to be beaten back so you can come back 2 times better. And I think he did that. I mean, he won. He's won two Elite Series events this year. I mean, he's one of our better players. I mean, there's just no question about it, Matt. So I'd fight you on that one, but I'm gonna go ahead and say stat on this one.
Wow. And to be clear, the running joke is that I think he's the incredible player, like the best player, and it blows my mind that he doesn't have more wins. But to your point, that's why. It's the era that he's in.
It's the era, man.
All
It's
right.
tough. It's hard to win.
Exactly.
It really is.
So he's never finished outside the top
That's
10.
what Evan is saying.
He's never finished inside
Inside
the top 10.
Yeah.
He's never
Inside.
done that at the Worlds. He's never done that good, Ben. Is that true? What, a telepathy with this guy?
Man, I don't have any mathematical computations in my head for this one.
I'm going to go fiction. Ben,
Okay.
what's your answer?
I'm going to go stat.
All right, so I pull ahead if I'm right.
All right. This is a stat.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That was for you, Calvin, and everyone who thinks I hate him. I believed last year that he did better at the fort in that whole area. I thought he was in top 10. I don't know
He was
what
11th.
He was 11th? No.
Oh, I don't know.
All right.
I'm not.
What's the answer to that, Evan?
All right. I mean, as a stat, that's the answer. His best finish ever at Worlds was 11th. Oh, that's what you're just asking about. 11th
Yes.
at last year's Worlds.
It was.
See? I was
Yes.
right.
Oh wow.
So just outside the top 10.
I was so close, but I was wrong.
But let's be quick with this because we got a tiebreaker between Nate and
Yes.
Val and intern Ben Kenny. So this one is not going to be stat or fiction style. It's a tiebreaker, so it's just a question with a numerical answer, and whoever is closest wins. It's not Price is Right rules. If you go above or below, doesn't matter as long as you're the closest.
Gotcha.
How many top 10s at majors, pro majors, let me preface that, in MPO, how many top 10s at majors does Calvin Heimberg have?
In major.
just at majors. Well, we know we can take Worlds out of that.
Goodness.
All right, Ben, you go first.
All right. Yeah.
Age before beauty.
Ben's like, 2.5.
I'm gonna have to go top 10. 8. I don't know. 8.
Just throws 8 out arbitrarily, so that might not be bad. What do you guys think?
Whoa.
Boy, if this was Price or Right rules, I'd just say 0 right now because, Ben, I think
Ooh.
that's way too high.
I think it's way too high.
Well, then you
too.
go 7 and you win.
It's true. Yeah, you could do that.
I think I'm gonna. I think the number's 5, but I'm probably gonna
Cool.
say 4.
Yeah. Wait.
You gave me a
Lower?
chance. Thank you.
Yep, they gave him a chance.
Because I want Ben to have a chance.
Let's go with 4.
4.
Yeah.
Let's go with 4.
All right. Nate and Val, you guys win. And you're actually still over. It is 3
Ooh.
top 10
See,
finishes
I was
at
going to say 3. He
majors.
said
Okay.
5.
there you
yeah,
go.
so right in the middle. That's the
Right in the
average.
middle.
But you would have been
Yeah.
right, of course.
I always
He
lose
finished-
into the tiebreaker. So
He finished second at 2020 USDGC, third at Champions Cup this year, and 8th at European Open. his only top 10s. He does have a couple more just outside the top 10, 11th, 12th, 14th, all at the World Championships.
Wow.
And I'll say this about Calvin. He hasn't had as many opportunities as, say, a Paul McBeth or even a Ricky Wysocki, even an Eagle McMahon. Calvin came into the game right around the time we were sort of exiting.
Yeah.
He was a college student. He was finishing out his college degree. So, yeah, I don't know. Those are some good stats right there.
Interesting
Calvin's
you're
first-
talking about him. I feel like he's gonna have feel this
Oh,
right now.
boy.
Like his ears start burning.
Burning.
He's getting
Matt's
out of the
talking
players meeting,
smack
going,
again.
"I'm
Yeah, I
feeling
know.
something."
Well,
It's gonna fuel him up, I bet.
Calvin Heiberg's first major of his career was actually 2016 in Emporia, which, as we know, Val, you took home. So, yes, that was right about you guys kind of switching off.
All right.
I like it.
We've kept you kind of late here in closing. You're both trading off. Is it FPO, MPO for commentating this week?
Mhm.
Yes.
And we're actually just gonna sleep here because they
Yep.
locked us in.
Yeah, they locked us
so.
in. No, we're
Yeah,
good.
we'll see you in the
If
morning.
If we're locked in, this is the spot to be.
Let's go.
In,
We got
in all
12 hours. Let's go.
In all seriousness, how does that work? I mean, as a married couple, are you guys going to see each other at all this week, or is it just going to be like craziness where you're like, okay, your turn, I'm going back to sleep?
Yeah, no, we'll see a lot of each other.
Okay.
I kind of help. I run the booth for the most part.
Awesome.
I do a lot of the technology. We're super lucky this week because we have the whole crew that did all the lighting. They were putting film on the window back
Yes,
here.
I
so
saw
we
that.
just have a beautiful background. They did the camera work for us. So we do see a lot of each other. And to be completely honest, I'm a huge fan of the FPO. I think it's some of the best action that we really see in disc golf.
Absolutely.
Is a lot of that FPO sort of back and forth. There's kind of those extreme swings that sometimes we see, which keeps me on the edge of my seat. And I'm usually sitting right there or just out of frame
Yeah, he is.
right over here. So, I won't miss it,
Awesome.
man. We absolutely love doing this job. And, we've just been very lucky to have the opportunity, and we'll do it as long as we can. I think there's no question about that.
Yeah, we'll see a lot
We'll
of each
see.
other.
Yeah.
He's the audio guy. He's the tech guy. He's the guy here making
That's
sure
me.
that the
Let's
show is
go.
running. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Intern Ben's feeling pretty lucky now, too. Okay, awesome. That's
Nice.
great. I didn't know that. That's awesome, Nate, that you're doing
Yeah.
that.
It's a team. It's a team effort, man. I think I'll say that. Last thing I'll say about our crew that we have on the Disc Golf Network, and because we all work together with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, it's just a tremendous staff. You asked us a lot of questions about on the course and with the players. We have never seen more people involved in the production of a tournament than right now. There's just no question about it, whether it's the PDGA staff or the massive Disc Golf Pro Tour staff, plus all of the local staff. It is insane. And it is really, really cool. And we're just lucky to work with just even a fraction of those people on a daily basis. It's pretty awesome.
And that is a fraction of what you would see on any other sports broadcast
Exactly.
or
It's true.
anything
It's
else. I
true.
mean, it is a small concentrated group of a whole lot of hardworking people that are trying their best to do what they can. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's awesome what
Hey,
we're able to do.
And I'll say this: I feel like you guys did capitalize. You own a business, and you're here commentating. So there you go.
I
life
like the
works
way you
out.
think, Ben. I like the way you think.
we're winning regardless.
Oh,
at the
you're
end of the
winning
weekend. We're
regardless.
doing good. Yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. We thank you so much for coming on. Really value your time. At some point, now that I have your phone number, and I'm not disclosing how I got that, but now that I have your phone number, I'll check in, every other day. No, I'm kidding. I'll send you a message, and I'd love to line up an interview to talk about other things in the sport at some point. Both Valarie and you, Nate. I think those would be tremendous standalone interviews. You've done a lot. I'll try to think of something more creative, but would love to get you back on the show. Enjoy your week there. I'm going to enjoy listening to you. If you've ever listened, like when you were growing up, I'd sit down and watch PGA golf on a Sunday afternoon, and I'd be like, this is the most relaxing thing to do right now. Nate, in a weird way, man, that's what you are for me and Valarie. It's like we just sit there,
Nice.
just sit back and enjoy and relax. So thank you for what you guys do.
Well, thank you guys. Enjoy the show. Should be phenomenal. And both Nick and Matt and everybody involved here, just thank you so much for having us. And good luck with everything if you ever want to talk again. We'll do it. There's
Let-
no reason why we wouldn't.
Okay,
At
good,
this
good.
point.
Well, good.
We still like you.
That's good. That's great. If you see Nick around, by the way, tell him he missed his own show tonight. Okay, I mean, it's
Great show. You
what's he
missed the
doing?
best show.
All right.
He
Well,
probably
he
got
shoots the
locked
hot
out.
round.
I think he got locked out.
Yeah, I got the headset right
That was
here.
the guy we said, no, we don't know who
Yeah.
you look like. You guys stay
Who's
outside.
that guy?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time. Have a great evening.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right, bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, everybody. What a fantastic.
I-
I mean, whoa.
Awesome interview.
I just want to say how cool that was. Like you said it during the interview, but that felt like the pre-show for Disc Golf Network all week, and we got to do the pre-show with them. And they're just sitting there in the studio. They'll be like, which it got dark at the end, but if you're coming in late, check out the beginning of that interview because it was such a cool background of the Emporia Country
Yeah.
Club. Like that looked amazing. I love that they do that
Yeah.
for this event. That was so cool.
We were piped into their studio. I mean, yeah, that was cool bringing them into ours. It was really, really neat. I appreciate very much their time. And for what it's worth, I'm laughing. I shouldn't disclose, but I was like, hey, you want to come on for like 10 to 15 minutes? It turns into 45 minutes to an hour. It's an hour. It's literally an hour from when I saw them in. But here's the deal. I
Oh,
said that.
man.
They said yes. And then I said, well, hey, because Val and you are both coming on together, can we extend that? And they said, absolutely. And then they almost got kicked out. And then they said, no, we can stay. So it was mutual. I think it was a great interview. Not that I asked the best questions, but they are just fantastic with their insights. And so as we get ready, we're not quite ready to close out yet. But they answered a lot of our questions. I made a joke in there about the Paige Pierce situation at the Emporia Country Club. There was a story that came out and drama resulted. People on the internet love a juicy story. And the fact that police officers were called makes everybody fly through the roof. Like, we need to know what happened. I don't know if we'll ever fully know, but you have to believe it's somewhere between the full inflated rumors and the response that you saw from Schaefer Sports, their management, if you will. And Schaefer Sports is like, yeah, it's all a misunderstanding. It's nothing. And then you have the rumors saying that Paige, is flaunting her wealth and saying everything else under the sun and inappropriate things to the management of the course and running down the fairways. And you're like, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But either way, that was my joke about the police being called on Nate and Val in the Emporia Country Club. I'm not sure what happened, so we're not going to really report on it besides that something did happen. And then I love how he came in on my take and said, this is the most up for grabs Worlds ever. I don't think it's hard, though. Will we say that next year? Like,
I think we'll keep on saying that, right?
but will we? Remember Paul Macbeth, his run of events, right? His run of Worlds and the years that he had. I don't think that year we would have said it's the most up for grabs. We would have said, you know what? If it's not Paul Macbeth, we'll be surprised. Like, anybody can get second kind of a thing. And so that might happen again. Like, if a player really becomes, it's the Ricky and Paul battle again, you might say it's not most up for grabs. You might say it's one of these two every time. But,
yeah, I mean, you can look at Kristen Tatar. I mean, most people would probably say she is the favorite to win, although it's hard to go against Paige Pierce with 5 majors, or 5 world titles, and Katrina Allen coming off the one last year. But like, it's so open from those 3 women. I think it would be hard to say that someone else has a large chance besides those 3, but it's so open between those 3 that I'm going back and forth like crazy. Like, Kristen's probably the most informed, but Paige going for 6 is the most decorated. And Katrina Allen, I think she was right up there in DDO this year. So I think, and she could go back to back, which would be incredible. And I didn't get to say this stat, so I want to say it real quick. I'm sorry, but Katrina Allen has a chance of going back to back. She would be the first FPO back to back world champion since Valarie Jenkins did in 2008 to 2009, and that was actually a 3-peat. She won in 2007 as well. So that would be super incredible. But I think it's incredibly up for grabs, even though people would probably say Kristen is the biggest favorite.
Okay. Practice rounds were canceled today or suspended due to severe weather coming through Emporia. And so those who thought they were going to have the afternoon to practice, which hopefully they weren't putting it off that late and getting that last little bit. Maybe they were trying to rest, but those who were trying to had to suspend it. PDGA officially said all play should be suspended, which is interesting because I don't think practice rounds are sanctioned. Granted, the venues and the state or the towns could work. Anyways, doesn't matter. It was dangerous. They shouldn't be out there playing. That's where you see memes. Paige out there running down the fairways. I'm gonna play. And it's like, all right, we attack the memes. It's pretty funny, but you just don't know if it's real or not. And you hope that whatever's not real eventually doesn't distort Paige's, who she is. But anyways, I don't have the inside scoop there. Let's see. There's a little bit more to talk about here as just conversational. What does Paul winning his 6th, I say as if he did, if he wins his 6th, what would it do for his career? Specifically thinking over like maybe a little bit of the season, questions around it, the most up for grabs year ever. If he does it again, does it just relaunch that whole persona of like, okay, like Paul just wins world championships. Incredible. Will it ever end? Even the next years, if he starts underperforming again, you'll just be like, you can't count him out. Everyone knows worlds rolls around and he wins it. What would a 6th do? Would it like I'm just saying this kind of rhetorically, unless you have a real strong opinion. What do you think 6 would do for Paul at this point?
I don't think a 6th does a ton for his career, except making his names of discs make a lot more sense. The whole Athena coming out and it's 6 letters, as in 6 championships, if that is true. As much as I think it saves his season. I mean, we've talked about him just having the win at Waco and then having a few other, podiums and good finishes, but not good for Paul McBeth. And so kind of like last year with USDGC, that saved his season. Worlds or USDGC again this year, maybe even a few playoff events could save his season as well. I think that means a lot more. Getting his 6th is huge, but he's not at 12 like Ken Climo is, and he's proven himself over everyone else that he has a better legacy.
Shout out to Wyatt Mahoney out of Connecticut, 13 years old just this week. And he ties for first in an NPO division, averaging 1,000 rated golf. I have to give a shout out to him because, one, I've watched him grow up in disc golf a little bit. He's played with my son over the years, but he said Paul McBeth gets the satisfaction. That's what a 6th win does. And you have to believe these players going and working so hard. To Paul, the majors, specifically the European Open, specifically, and Worlds. The others are important to Paul too, but the majors, Paul counts that as why he does everything he does. That's what matters. He's determined that. And you know what? All the players have. They said, where do we get our, announcements? Where do they look at? They look at Worlds. They look at majors. That's where I'm going to focus my time and effort. So I agree with you, Wyatt. Great take on that. And the same thing for Paige. Does it do more for Paige to win a 6th than it does for Paul?
Oh, leaps and bounds is different, because when Paige gets 6th, that's the winningest FPO world champion. We have Elaine King, Gianna Corver, and Des Redding all with 5. Des Redding with 5?
Not Des.
She has 3.
Yeah, Des doesn't have 5, I don't think.
She has 3.
Elaine and
King,
Juliana.
Gianna Corver. Yep. And there's one more, right? Or is it just those 3?
Elaine, Juliana, and Paige have 5.
Oh, Paige is the 3rd. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Wow.
It's okay, Stat Mando. Every now and then you need a Matt in your life.
Yeah. Matt Mando. Thank you.
Matt Mando. Or Stat Graham.
It could, yeah, Stackram, that's your name, that's right. But her Paige getting the 6 cements her over JK and Elaine King. Not that I think there's too much doubt right now, but it does cement that, and that is huge to Paige. I mean, you saw the Fierce documentary, how much it meant to her to get that 6. That was the driving story of the whole entire documentary. And if she's able to get that 6, I think that's kind of a sweet little ending on that documentary.
Great point. It would be redemption the same way it would be for Paul, I would assume too. The fact that you both feel like they kind of both won it right up to the last hole and then they lost it. So great point. We're almost to the point where we're going to give our takes. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything here. How do you feel about Worlds returning here at some point in the near future? My answer is I don't feel like it's an issue of quality. But the players, and I'm not speaking as a voice for them, but you hear enough about this venue, as you do probably a lot, but you hear enough about this venue that, we just don't love it. We just don't love it. Do you have to love it? No. I mean, do people love Northwoods Black? I don't. They're starting to, maybe. They're starting to figure it out and like it a little bit. But I just feel like we see a lot happen in Emporia. Good job for DD. Absolutely. Marketing, business plan, their growth is through the roof. I mean, $1 million deals with Ricky, bringing an event there that they run at a very high level. But for some reason, it just feels like we're there so often. I mean, we play a tour event there, as we will most courses. We're going to go to Smuggler's Notch, but players typically rave about Smuggler's Notch. So I don't know. My feeling is I wouldn't love it. It's not the most exciting venue. It will be better now that it's not going to be 50-mile-an-hour winds. I hope. I hope it's not. We don't need a tornado or something.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, no. But I mean, how do you feel? Just generally about the venue, like we're going to Emporia.
I'll say I think number one is just because we're getting there twice in a season, it feels like, oh, we're back here. And especially with the wins the first time around, it wasn't the most pleasant. It was unique, but not the most pleasant. So coming around a second time's a little bit less exciting, but in the future, we're going to only see, I think, majors, courses, or worlds really specifically, be the only stop on the tour. If it's a regular Elite Series stop, it'll kind of forfeit that Elite Series spot for that year to be the Worlds.
Great.
I think that's the right move. And I wish it was that for this year, but that's okay. We're doing better in the future. What I do think the courses are a little lacking because they are two kind of similar style of courses. A lot of open shops, rope to OB, but super technical landing zones. I mean, that's it. It's good. You have to be a good disc golfer to play well here. Like, that's completely true. But it is tough on the viewer, especially at Worlds, which is the biggest event of the year, the most watched. It's hard to see where they want to land. And so my one ask is, I think Emporia, the city is so clearly behind disc golf. They love disc golf. The city's supportive. They have so many courses. It's a destination for that whole Midwest area. I want to see Emporia put money into Jones and make it a premier course. And yeah, they're not going to be able to plant huge trees. They're probably not going to be able to do huge ponds. There is a pond on the property. But I want to see more like mulching. I want to see kind of plants and scenery and stuff like that defining the fairways instead of lines. If Eric McCabe can just go to the town and be like, let's put a row of, plants, bushes, whatever it is to define this fairway, and that's what's the line's still there, but it is so clear to viewers. I think Emporia could do that. I think they could make things really clear. You see what they did on hole 1 with the rock structure. I'm sure that took a lot of time, takes a lot of money. That is true. It's not an overnight fix. But if they kind of have that ambition that they did on hole 1 for all 18 holes, all 17 others, I think that could be a state-of-the-art course. I really do, even with just the general nature of Emporia not having a ton of woods.
Okay. I agree. Not really. I said what I said. You said what you said, but we did meet in the middle somewhere. I liked a lot of the points you made.
Thanks.
Let's do this. They're out there, and I've seen posts by Kona and others saying, why is it so hot? Well, my friend, you should be using DG Max Wax. DG Max Wax has become my friend in so many ways. I mean, I don't talk to it, but I do hold it. I feel it. I massage it. I say, you help me out with my game. It enhances my grip. I've seen people say they're ditching the dry bags. And I will say this. I do not regularly carry a dry bag with me, but you don't have to ditch your dry bag to enjoy DG Max Wax. In fact, I would recommend use something to dry your hands, whatever that is, your choice, and then use DG Max Wax. They have it in the mini shape here, where you can actually use it as a mini, and my hands are actually feeling enhanced grip right now at a very nice level, and they also have Snapstick. Snapstick comes in the chapstick size container, and it has the DG Max Wax in it. Citradelic smell, leaving you smelling fresh and lemony citrusy, and it enhances your attention and calms you to make a better putt if that's what you're doing. I love it. 10% off at checkout, dgmaxwax.com. Fantastic product that I think they should be using, and I bet people are using out in Emporia for this week. All right. I followed that up and I said, what are we talking about with courses? Are we going back to Emporia? And I do want to see here. Let me I want to see what I missed here. All right, let's talk about it. Playoffs. Evan, you were talking about playoffs pre-show, and this is a new thing in 2022, and it's based off of Pro Tour points, how you advance and make the cut. Semifinals are at Smuggler's Notch Green Mountain Disc Golf Championship. And do you have off the top of your head the points required to get in there, or do you just generally know like who's on the cut line?
It's not a points required because it's dependent on the standing. So
True,
for GMC,
not points required, but where you are based off of points. Correct.
Yeah, it's top 100.
Okay.
Just based off like a max points, it's top 100 in MPO and top 50 in FPO. So just based on like max points that someone could get, which only has 2 events left. It's a major, which a lot of players are going to have this be a dropped event. Either this is going to push out another event to be dropped, or this will be the dropped one. And then there's one more silver series, which I really wonder how many people are going to play because it's right after Worlds, but it's going to maybe be necessary. So some players right on that edge. I mean, like Terry Roethlisberger sitting right now in the 99th most possible points that he could achieve. And then Andrew Fish is someone that's just right out. Jonathan Nicholson, Kyle Moriarty. Those guys are just outside. They're going to need strong finishes in order to get that bid to get to GMC. But it's really interesting to get into the MVP Open one. Players sitting outside the top 64. You got guys like Tristan Tanner, Colton Montgomery. I mean, Robert Burridge, who might not plan on going, but even after that amazing finish, he is 71st. A lot of Europeans. I mean, like Jakob Semerad, we saw him over in Europe. Christian Kuoksa, Jesse Niedemann, Paul Ulibarri sitting outside. Gonna need some work. A good finish here at Worlds could really jump you up to get you into being in that top 64 or top 32, depending on your division for MVP Open.
Yeah,
it'll be exciting.
The Pro Tour event, like series events, are done. You have the playoffs, but it doesn't mean they can't get points still. And this is your point, is that you're saying Worlds is happening and these people are on the cut line, or they're not in it. They haven't secured it. They haven't clinched it. With a good performance here, they will. With a bad performance, they miss it.
Yeah, well, and there's a silver series, the Butler County. But it used to be Pittsburgh.
That is a great point, and that's a clarification when I said no more series events. Silver series are just so far like down the list as points are concerned, that if they're able to use points from a silver series, that means they aren't doing well, in my opinion, at this point in the season.
Yeah, and you only keep 3 out of the 8 silver series. So a lot of players probably are well over that mark. They need a really good finish. After Worlds, we'll kind of break that down and get a good feel for it. Some interesting notes, though, is just based on points and maximum points allowed, all 3 of Ricky Wysocki, Kelvin Heiberg, and Paul Macbeth all have buys to the Disc Golf Pro Tour quarterfinals. And on the FPO side, let me just scroll up real quick. It's Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen both have buys. No one else has officially clinched that. Of course, more players will get it, and Worlds will tell us a little bit more. But it's exciting times, these playoffs, just with the extra points. It's exciting finish to the end of the year. Majors counting a part of it. Majors being at the end of the year. It's all super exciting. It's going to be hectic, chaotic, but so enjoyable to watch this play out.
And specifically, we would be remiss not to bring up Maple Hill on this podcast. But Maple Hill, the home of the Nick and Matt show, officially. I mean, we're all spreading out all over the world now. Evan moved up to New Hampshire. Nick moved to Virginia. I don't know where Ben's going next, but
I'm staying here.
We've worked hard to make this show resilient tech-wise, and it's working. If we had not done this last year, like the way that we have it, we would have been done by now. So, Hannah Macbeth. Hey, guys. Hannah, the most embarrassing thing on my show tonight ever happened. I'll have to tell you about it
Honestly,
sometime.
an awesome opportunity. That's like something you like. That's like a guy rapping for Kanye West and then like, you know what I'm saying? Like a crazy opportunity that like was not intentional.
True. I think he's probably...
He's probably like, let's go. I just got a free promotion on accident.
I'm reliving it and I'm embarrassed again. It's like, I feel bad and I'm like, it was all innocent, very innocent, but it's just like one of those things. That's what embarrassment is. Okay. MVP Open is coming up. We are local here for the most part. Evan, I'm sure you'll be around. Are you going to try to come down every day? Or are you going to try to find a place?
He'll be there.
Oh, we got the Statmando house all booked.
Great.
I'll be down for all 4 rounds.
Is it in the Leicester area? Do you know where it is?
Yeah, we'll be in Worcester.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So that event I'm getting stoked about. A few other things just to mention. USDGC is a big event that's still coming up as well. Worlds is going to be done, and we're going to be like, what's next? But don't worry, that is another drama-filled event that you can be sure that will pop up something random on one hole down there that will get all the attention from the media, and they're excellent at doing that. Our friend Ted Nalen, and I'm not sure it's in collaboration with Double G Craft Jerky, but he has been asked to revamp the distance competition. And if you think about USDGC, one of the things they do is a throw pink thing, and they do throw for ace to raise money, and they do it over whatever Winthrop Pond or whatever that is there. And it's a smash, and they usually have a DJ come out, but supposedly it's kind of dwindled a little bit over the years, and Ted's revamping it. They gave out like $500 last year. That doesn't sound like that much, but he's raising it already this year alone. He's up to $1,500 prize for the long distance, which, man, maybe I should throw further. I can make some money. And so he's doing that. So be on the lookout for that coming up. And I will say one other thing local to us here. If you're not a local, this won't benefit you, but you can look around the country where this is happening. Double G, David Wiggins Jr., who was on our show at one point, and others. I think I've seen Cole. I know Jessica Weiss is a part of this at some level sometimes, and they're touring around with the events, and they're hosting long distance drive clinics. I'm not sure that my game can be helped. Like, maybe it can be, but throwing far is another animal, and they're doing that at Meadowbrook. Shout out to them, a local venue. Look around you for a venue near you. I know it's going to be very popular, a local Disc Golf 978. You've probably seen them on sponsored players around the country. I just wanted to give a shout out to our friend Ted for putting those events on with Double G, David Wiggins, and others. Speaking Cole Riddallin, I mean, that kid can throw farther than anybody, it seems, when he gets his hold of it.
And speaking of Meadowbrook, quick shout out to Paul Kranz for taking down MPO. No, I'm just kidding. And Paul Kranz did do that, but Ben Kenny took down MA too.
Let's go.
So last week, this was a show that I kind of crashed. I wasn't on, but last week I heard Ben won an event in a playoff.
Capital Disc Open.
This week, he has like a 10-stroke lead going into like the final 9 holes, and he bogeys out, and he still wins by 3 in his division. So
yes,
the kid's
not
killing
happy
it.
about it, but I still got the win.
Nicholas Carl in the chat, everybody. Nicholas Carl. He shows up here at the end. Fantastic guy to do that. Nick, I'll talk later. Again, you guys missed a nice embarrassing show. I'm glad you did.
And a great show. That was a great interview.
Yeah, I say show.
I thought it was a great show.
Okay, I mean moment.
They're both very articulate. They should be professional commentators, right?
And you know what's interesting? Now let me get this off my chest. Here we go. People will hate on them, like literally, and they'll say they're not hating. So I want to be careful. I don't mean they hate them. There are some people
they don't like their commentary.
There's some people who take it too far and probably are hating them. But generally, there will be people who are like, they suck. Oh, they're the worst. Oh, I can't handle this. And you know what? Here's what I tell everybody. If you know 5 people in your life, it would be unfortunate if 1 or 2 of them hated you. It'd be like, that's pretty bad. It's not usually that type of a number. If you know 5 people, most of them probably like you. 10, probably similarly. 20, maybe 1 doesn't like you. As more people get to know you, it's just the stat percentages, right? Statmando, there's gonna be people who don't like you. So I will count it this. The fact that they have people that say they dislike them means that they are very well known. And you can say that's a good or bad thing. But the point is, there are so many people who like them, me being one of them.
Well, he especially Nate, he was just so passionate. Like, it was just like, it's like I was captivated to the way he spoke.
And the hard part is passionate doesn't always work to say I'm a good commentator, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I agree with you. Yes.
On the show.
Oh, on the show,
like awesome. Like
you were crying.
Yeah, I was crying. It was so captivating.
I just want to go back to the Des Moines playoff on the MPO side,
Yeah.
and Nate's commentary of that was some of the best commentary we've ever seen in all of disc golf.
Absolutely.
Like that playoff, the playoff told itself. Like
You
I
have
could've
new
been up
haters
there.
now, Evan. You have new
I
haters
could've-
now that
I
are
could have been
hating.
up there
Wait,
winging
can I
it,
just-
and it would have been
Can I
exciting.
say
But
something?
Nate took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So one time I was sleuthing around on disc golf Reddit looking up Nick and Matt. And obviously Matt gets the most hate along with Nick. I think
Give
Nick's
us the
second
stats.
tier. And then I got one good comment about me because I'm intermittent. I'm like a
Intermittent.
flash in the pan. Like I'm here sometimes. I'm on the show. I'm not like a main character. But I was so surprised. There was Evan Kearns hate comments.
Wow.
That's absurd.
Next level.
There's literally hate comments for Evan. It was like I was like, what?
Oh man. Well, meet me face to face, and you'll find out who I really am.
Board man gets paid, baby.
I'm just playing.
I don't know if I really want to say this, but if you dislike me, come and tell me that next time you see me. It probably will hurt me a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But nobody's done that yet. Like,
But that's the thing. It's not.
nobody's done that yet.
It's not. They wouldn't. It's not your personality. It's like they wouldn't come up to you like, bro,
True.
you're a terrible. But it's just like they just don't like. I don't know. There's so many things. It's like they like he talks like a squirrel. Like that's not a real comment, but like
What's with the squirrel talk
it's
tonight?
just like
the squirrel
there's so many
championships?
random things. He talks like a squirrel. No, he just talks way too slow. Like it's just like the randomest
Yeah.
things.
That's all right. Hey,
We should pull out that Nico quote. Like, if you're gonna talk crap about me, you keyboard warriors, meet me on the course.
yeah, meet me on the podcast with your own podcast.
Wait, we should do that. Nick and Matt haters in studio.
We've talked about doing like, what are those called? Bad tweets or whatever they are, where they do the
Oh,
late night
yeah.
show where they read it.
Yeah,
Like,
bad
I have to
tweets.
read it about myself. He is horrible and he talks. So, yeah, it'd be funny. I've thought about doing it before, but I'd be the one end up reading them all. Maybe that's okay. We should try that. We'll give it a go. All right. But I will say this, we got off on this tangent. Someone told me you have arrived when you make it into a Reddit thread that is filled with hate about you.
You've arrived
I had if you can
on
go
two
look for it.
different podcasts, Matt. That's pretty impressive.
You can go look in Reddit and find it. It's
Nick
for
and
my
Matt
other show,
and
League
League
Night.
Night. That means you really made it.
It's like Matt, and I'll say it, Matt is insufferable. Like that's literally like people are leaving like 100 comments of like horrible. And there was like this weird backhanded compliment. It was like his production value is like the highest of anywhere in the whole sport. And like, that's all he brings to it. And I'm like, man, like, that's like I want to say, oh, that's nice, but it's like this weird, like backhanded comment. So I thank you for the humor to those of you who are doing that. I have come a long way with myself. I used to be a little bothered
And
by that.
no
Pretty
one
good
better
at that.
comment. They didn't talk about worlds. Listen, we talked about words. Listen to the
2
first
hours
30
of it.
minutes.
No, 2 hours of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
but
entire thing was about worlds.
But we didn't we didn't give our picks. Okay.
True.
And so here I go. I feel like Ricky will win it. Mainly because of the venue. He plays well here. Okay. And he does a lot of places, but that's kind of where I'm going with this. He tends to be able to explode here. Paul Macbeth, arguably, probably without arguing, the best world's player ever. It makes me think he's not getting worse than second, and he could win it. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think my pick is gonna be Ricky. Eagle needs to be in this conversation. For some reason, I'm not feeling it, and I'm gonna give Simon the love for top 3. And that's literally like a love pick. Like it's like, I hope that kind of a pick. Eagle, though, not a wild horse by any chance, could win it, but he's not in my top 3. Wouldn't be surprised. That's my top 3. MPO, FPO. Paige does not win it. And I don't know if she gets second either. I'm seeing a third or worse for her. So she's in my top 3. Kristen, I'm picking to win it. Her performance there was great this year already. She demonstrated that she has all the skills necessary. I think it's her time. And Katrina plays well at this venue and course and tournament, not worlds, but also she has the world's experience. And I think she's just going to eke out the second place. So that's my top 3 both sides. Evan, who do you pick? Once and done. You can't change it on every show you go on.
What are you talking about? I'm going to go a boring pick because it's the same as you, and I'm going to pick Ricky Wysocki and MPO. I don't think he deserves 2 out of 3 picks, or maybe even 3 out of 3. We'll get to Ben too. But he is my pick, and I'll own it as well. I had him going in before the show. I think it'll be like a 5+ stroke victory. I think it'll be exciting. The final round will be a little bit like, yeah, Ricky won, kind of a la Ledgestone this year. Just for the stat, I'm going to say Paul McBeth finishes second. And then third place is some... Well, like, I don't know if
we
he
did
will.
the same
like,
picks so far. We did the same picks. Ricky,
oh, shoot,
Paul,
dang it.
And I'm
Okay,
just
well,
looking
that was
for
on
your
the
third
fly.
now. Were you going to say Simon?
Like, maybe Simon... No, no, I'm just kidding.
Just feeling like it could be Simon.
Simon's so likable. I hope he does well, but obviously those majors have gotten to him. It's gonna be something wild, like an Anthony Barella, maybe like a Joel Freeman. Very good players, but maybe not on our radar to be a podium at Worlds.
All right.
But switching over FPO side, I'm going back to back Katrina Allen. I think second place is like Macy Villa Diaz, maybe. Someone a little outside with Paige Pierce coming in third. I think Kristen Tatar misses the podium. She is only 2 for 10 in getting podiums at majors. Elite Series, she's 14 for 14. At majors, she's 2 for 10.
What?
Of course, that's
what
a
are
lot
we
of her
putting on the
early in
line
career.
here? I'm putting her as winning, and you're putting her as missing the podium. We need a bet here.
Yeah, like 4th,
Like
maybe,
a meal.
maybe 5th.
A meal
Or a disc.
or a disc or a tournament entry of only up to.
Oh, that's
too
much.
steep. Too steep.
I was gonna go like $2 maybe.
No, come on, Kearns. Back your takes.
I'll bet you an Izzy.
Okay. What does the chat think?
Oh.
Okay, keep
Yeah,
going.
chat,
What
let
do
us
you,
know
what's your
what the
third?
wager should be.
Yeah, third was Paige Pierce, but I said Macy Villa Diaz coming in second.
Okay. And third was first was who?
Katrina Allen.
Okay, Katrina.
Back to back.
Okay.
Let's go.
I wouldn't be surprised ever second. And that's what I said. I think she plays here extremely well, but I got to go with Kristen. Okay. Ben.
All
what do you
right.
got? Oh, you have to watch my children. That's the that's the answer.
Oh,
Loser
goodness.
shaves their beard.
Ooh, not bad. I'll caddy Hunter maybe or something like that.
Dude, shaving the beard.
That was a good one.
Well, that one's bad because then one of us is gonna look bad for the next
Dude, but
episode.
Kearns, you have the odds, bro, on your side. If Kristen doesn't win, then
I don't want either of us
Okay,
to shave
shaving
our
the
beard.
beard, we're going to have to come up with a bet that works. That's not a big enough bet, like, as in, like, oh, Kristen doesn't win or she gets outside the top. Like, we'd have to make it a hotter take. Like he would, if you said, like, outside top 10, then I'd be like, own that. We're doing beards. But, like, if you're saying
Yeah,
fourth,
no
it's
way
not
on
big
that.
enough. That's just too close. It's too close.
All right.
That's how I backed out of that.
All
one.
right,
You
fair.
like
I say an Izzy. Let's keep it small.
it? Okay.
Come on,
Friendly
Kearns.
wager.
Energy drink, Izzy. Yeah, whatever. I'll
right.
get you a beer. Maybe, yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right.
Nice.
My turn.
How's your parasailing, by the way?
I'm still in the air. Still help me
We need
out.
to get you ropes.
I know. Woo. So my first pick is gonna be, I have a real close relationship with him. If you want to tune into Jomez final round Maple Hill, you'll see me and him doing a little one of these. It's Matty-O. He's taking it down. He's taking down the world champion. He's been playing since like 2005. The Worlds, that was his first World.
He's Calvin Heimberg 2.0 though.
Yes.
Like he's so good.
Yes.
He's
I
not
think he's
gonna
gonna win.
Nope.
He's gonna pull it off. Second place, I'm gonna
You have to grow a beard if you're wrong.
Ooh, I can't really. Second place, I'm gonna have to go with Eagle. Third place, Nicolas Antilla. I guess it is Nicolas Antilla. I like him so much that he's coming in third place. On the FBO side, I'm gonna go stick with my gut. It's the pretty obvious choice. Everyone expected this. It's gonna be Kona Panis. She's taking it down. I'm telling you, she's gonna make that contract worth it when she's a world champion. And they're printing hybrid lucid escapes with her name one time.
I will
Okay.
say this. I feel so contrary to that take. You said Kona takes it down, right?
Yes.
Okay. I feel so contrary to that take. I will shave my beard if she wins.
Bet.
You heard
I'll
it
do
here.
that too.
You literally heard. Oh, you said it too, Evan?
I'll shave my beard if Kona
Okay.
wins.
Oh,
I mean,
that was a
all
big
the
enough-
respect to
That
Kona.
That was my
but-
point. That's a big enough one where I'm like, you are
Yeah.
absolutely wrong. And then we come
Rooting
back
for
next
her,
week
I
with
just
our
don't
beard
think she
shaved.
gets it. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Oh man.
And then
Yeah.
she's gonna take it down.
I would shave my beard happily.
I'm gonna for second place. I'm gonna have to go with I had it in my head before I even. Oh wait, fourth Harry Chase and MPO. Forgot about that. But second for FPO Ella Hansen. That's who it was, and then third Paige Pierce.
The chat said, well, how about it's this way? He has to back up his take. If she loses, if she doesn't win, he has to shave his head.
Oh man.
No, he knows it's a hot take. He won't back that one. So
Well, I want to drop in a stat
Go for
to Ben's MPO pick. Matt Oram has 117 starts in Elite Series and Majors. He has 0 wins. That is the second most starts without a win of all players. Philo Brathwaite only being the only higher one, with 150 starts and 0 wins. So that'd be incredible. 117 starts, and on the 118th, getting your first
Philo has
major
never won
win.
an Elite Series.
He has not.
Jeez,
Nope.
that's unfortunate.
Incredible players. Winning Elite Series is tough.
I mean, for
Apparently.
Philo back then, I feel like it could have been easier when he was like prime. Definitely
I
would have
mean,
been.
there's a lot of good Californians. I mean, like Steve Rico picking up a lot of those wins. I mean, a little kid named Paul Macbeth back then.
he
yeah.
did look different. I'll tell you that. I picture how I first
Yeah.
remember seeing him compared to now. Much different.
Mhm.
All right. We got our takes out of the way. We put our bets up there, except Ben has nothing to lose, though. That's the problem. He doesn't have a beard to shave.
All right,
so.
let's make a real bet. I'm down to make
Well,
a
we've
real
already
bet.
made ours. We've already made ours.
Okay.
If Kona wins, we shave. And people are like, it's true. It's not that's not a big bet for us. We're not going to have to shave our beard.
All right. So
I like the one that someone said we would have to do the one chip challenge on the show if we
Oh.
lost. That's pretty good.
I like beards for Kona, but
I-
I'll do
I
one.
don't
If
know
Ricky
what the one chip
Wysocki wins,
challenge
I'll
is.
do the one chip challenge.
How
There you
about
go.
yeah, whoever gets the most of their picks right. I don't know how we're going to judge that. But whoever gets most of their picks right gets to sit out the one chip challenge.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, I still don't know what the one chip challenge
It's
is. Should I
hot.
be
It's like
scared?
Okay,
scorpion,
can I
like
just-
pepper, hot pepper.
I know we're running out of
chip.
time, but can I give a quick story? So me and my friends is Otterbrook. It's like 7 a.m. We all take 4 pieces of the one chip challenge. We break up the chip, all eat it to play disc golf right before. We thought it was hilarious. 3 of my friends puked from it on the course.
Absolutely.
Absolutely puked. One had to go home because he was so sick from it. The
No.
other 2 puked and just were like felt so awful.
So you're saying we might just literally cancel the show?
And
Like, it's over.
I literally had to. I don't know how to probably say this. When nature calls in the middle of the disc golf course with no toilet paper, and I had to like the Otterbrook, Otterbrook, the brook, I had to sit down in it and get some leaves, and it was a mess, all because of the one chip challenge. It
literally,
messed all our stomach.
the
up.
show might be over. Like at
Yeah.
that
As
night.
fun as that sounds, I vote a different challenge.
Okay.
But
And
we
I
have
want to
time
do
to figure it
something.
out.
I want to do something really quickly because I had more time to process the take I was bringing on Kona winning. That is my immediate reaction. I have to back it up just a little bit because I was like, is there a chance that I'd shave my beard? And the answer is yes. This was kind of the most up for grabs year, as we were saying, ever. Could she win it? Absolutely. Does she have all the skills necessary? Deep inside, she does. And she's working to get them out. And so that's the part where I'm like, yeah, no, I'll shave my beard. I don't mean that at all offensively, everybody. Like, literally, like, I want her to do well. It's just that I'm trying to bring my honest reaction takes. And so that's where I'm at with it. Wow. We pushed the show back. We actually went extremely long.
I know. It was a good show though.
All right. But I think we're ready to wrap it up. we talked about a lot. We have one more thing to do before we close out, and that is talk about how much I love Hempfield Botanicals. In all seriousness, these products that we advertise are products that we use. The other day, I do not know how it happened, but my wrist inflammation got serious again. I do have tendonitis. I've had it for a long time. I've worked on it, and it inflamed. And my first immediate reaction was to go get some of this Hempfield Botanicals, some of the salve, and I just rubbed it on, let it sit there, soak in, use some more, and it started to feel much better. Overnight, woke up, and it was much more alleviated. Hempfield Botanicals, it's great for your just typical muscle recovery following around when you feel sore. I was helping Simon hang a TV up in his house on Saturday. I think it was Saturday. He left on Sunday. And like, no joke, I don't use those muscles very much. My legs, I was squatting, and in my shoulders and my arms. And so I went for the Hempfield Botanicals. It's good for on the course. You feel better. You play better. Great product. Nick's favorite, what? Chapstick? Awesome products. We really appreciate what they're doing. 20% off is significant. If you're going somewhere else to get your product, commit to doing this next. Get 20% off your order. Nick and Matt code at hempfieldbotanicals.com. You won't regret it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Nick is not here to say his little closing piece. We can do the do. See you later. So I will end it like this. Evan, we're excited. Are you busy with Statmando all week?
All week. We're getting those stats ready.
Okay. Be on the lookout, everybody. When Statmando gets shouted out, say, I know that man, or I know one of the three. And Ben, you excited for Worlds?
I'm so excited. It starts tomorrow, correct?
Absolutely, dude. We are not going to be able to get enough this week. I hope everyone enjoys it. We will come back next week and see how wrong we are. To be clear, the only beard shaving bet is if Kona wins. I just want to be clear. We're not coming back.
What's the one chip bet then? I'll do one chip if someone wins.
We'll do side
if
bets
Ricky
on
wins,
the chat.
then it's both of us right and Ben wrong.
No, what I was saying is here's what I'll say, and I was just about to close out. It's whoever gets most of their picks right. And we'll have to figure out how that actually works, but most of them right gets to choose. How about that? You get to choose who eats the one chip challenge. The winner gets to pick. Okay? And you can say we're breaking it in half, and okay, that's how we'll do it. Whoever gets it most right gets to pick who gets the one chip challenge. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ben's not choosing who eats the one chip. All right, everybody. This was a great show. Appreciate everyone jumping in the chat. Would you like it? Would you share it? Would you leave us a review? We really appreciate it. Until next week, everybody, enjoy Worlds. Ben, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Nick, do well at Worlds. We're rooting for you.
Woo.
Peace out, everybody.
See you.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.